Are we live? I said, are we live? We're on a late night, but let's get it.
All right, everybody. It's the brother Derrick here. I just want to see this real quick. It's 4:39. Let's go ahead and get this. I'm on rock for you. Stop looking, listen. Please stop resisting. It's a new day. Let's try a new way. Jesus put an offer on the table, and everyone out there is now able to come home with God in your heart. You're never alone if you believe me. You don't need that weed. Give Jesus a hug and put down those drugs. The victory over the devil is already won. So why are you picking up that gun if this word is actually their faith? Why do you need that alcoholic drink? Because the devil tells you, he rules you, he fools you. But the minister is here to school you. I'm here to preach. I'm here to teach. And it's you I'm trying to reach through this song that I compose. When Jesus comes back, only God knows. Are you ready or are you still in heaven? Are you ready or are you still in heaven? You won't be if you follow me. I'm more than that. Oh God, what can I say about you? You still love us sinners and you offer your grace for free. I'm not worthy, but you still search me out of a life of sin. And with Jesus' help, I know I can win. I love serving my Lord. He opens the door to a relationship with God. This is the only way in. In the name of Jesus, I always pray and I lay myself as a footstool for the lost demons. I know that fool. It's not true to be a believer, but I'm not with my soul in the hands of the deceiver. A wicked devil who brings up for trouble. I put my desires on ice and I'm for reaching paradise. A day with no pain, no stress. You gave me the weight, and now I'm blessed. You can test me, let the devil stress me. But baby, hell is one place I don't want to see. So stop, look, and listen. Please stop resisting. It's a new day. Let's try a new way. Are you ready or are you still in heaven? Stop, look, and listen. Please stop resisting. It's a new day. Let's try a new way. Minister, Brother Derrick. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Peace, everyone. Mr. Brother Derrick. And that's what I did. It's really hard to be a Christian in 2021. Yes, it is. Everybody seems to have a double standard. And we don't get no respect in the world. We are considered weak. We are considered strong. We are considered dumb for believing in the book. But yet, these people have no moral. And you see what the world is going to do. We get no credit. So, this is for those who are thinking, who are thinking on the team. Let's get it. Every day I dance before
second. I'm still getting ready.
Welcome to the Minister Brother Derrick Show, and I am Minister Brother Derrick. I just want to say that I love Jesus, and that's the title of this song. I love you, Jesus. We'll follow you wherever you lead us. I love you, Jesus. Let the devil deceive us. Can't get enough. I love my Jesus. Well, people say to keep it real, but here's the deal. If you're not saved, you're missing out. If you're not born again, your future is in doubt. Your body wasn't made to last. When your time comes, it will be reduced to ash. Your flesh will rot, but your life will not. You know your soul will go on forever, so you better realize that you need God, or you will be surprised by the pain of a flame that never goes out. The pits of hell, where the heat swells up, there's no relief, not for a moment of peace. The agony and cries never cease, and someone in the background singing, burn, baby, burn. This isn't normal. Burn, baby, burn. I'm no longer in burn, no. But certainly, though, this will happen if Jesus comes back and finds you now. See, no one knows the time of day, but if you follow the word, it won't matter anyway. Because in heaven, no one will ever be sick or shed a tear. So in this realm, I show no fear.
I love
What
you,
you want to kill me?
Jesus.
Make me a martyr? Give me a head start? Put me on the fast track?
I love
So
you,
keep stacking.
Jesus.
Keep stacking. Keep on shacking up. Don't get caught napping
I
and
love
shaking
you,
up.
Jesus.
And I just want to say, I love you, Jesus.
Where am I at? There I am. Don't.
Follow you wherever you lead us. I love you, Jesus. Don't let that devil deceive us. I love you, Jesus.
I love
If
you,
you think that witnessing to your neighbors is weird, think of foreign countries with factions of
I love you,
nations of
Jesus.
people who don't know God, only biblical concepts like a Alabama.
I love you,
Most
Jesus.
Americans believe in one Lord, one superior being. Christians
I
should be
love
one
you,
thing,
Jesus.
but we spend our time fulfilling the desires of our flesh. We won't give Jesus our best efforts, but we ask for blessings that we don't
I love
deserve.
you,
And you wonder
Jesus.
why our prayers are not heard. In church, you put down those you really
I
admire.
love you,
Because you have a
Jesus.
desire to make that easy money, drive the fancy car, you feel like a star. When you enter the bar or the club, deep down your spirit isn't for God or His ways. So why should anybody listen to a darn thing you say? I love you, Jesus. Follow you wherever you lead us. I love you, Jesus. Don't let the devil deceive us. I love you, Jesus. We'll follow you wherever you lead us. Let the Holy Spirit lead us. And one more time. I love you, Jesus. All right, y'all, let's get it. Let's get to the Bible study. The Minister, Brother Derrick Show.
Alrighty. Where's the animations at? I can stop them. Animations is working the PC. Working them. Alrighty, y'all. Welcome to the Minister Brother Derrick Show. I totally screwed up today. I supposed to have got up and went to the market and came back and done a sermon. I was actually on the Hangouts with some family members, and I fell asleep. I couldn't believe it. It's food day, And I fell asleep. So not only did we not get to do the Saturday sermon, I didn't go to the market. Well, the market opens at 6 o'clock. So rather than sit and twiddle my thumbs, and we didn't get to do the sermon, why not do it? Why just sit around? Why wait? Go ahead and get it done now. When everybody wake up, y'all have a sermon to wake up to. Y'all used to getting it on Sunday anyway, so we're right here waiting for you. Now, I was just going to do a late night show, and I had, videos ready, and I went on and changed the title and the thumbnail, and I thought, why not go ahead and do it? So, we're here. Our topic today is intervention. Why does it seem? Am I frozen? Are we frozen? See, here we go with the bull crap. Here we go. You already got me today. Wasn't that enough? Nope, it's not enough. All right, let's change the speed and see if that helps. Now, we're using 6 tracks. We're using 6 different audio tracks, and it looks like it's stressing the computer. I can't figure out why the encoder saying it's overloaded. But I seem to be frozen. Am I frozen? Hey, nah, y'all, am I frozen? All right, let's try and put it on medium and see what happens. Am I still frozen? All right, I brought the quality down to medium. Scroll down here. Why do I seem frozen? Okay, let's put that up, and then let's come back. YouTube Studio. All right, am I still frozen? Let me back out and come in again, because it says I'm frozen on this screen. I tell you, it's always something. As soon as you master one thing, something else waiting for you. All right, now we logged out, and we got that on commercial. Fill that out. Skip ad. All right, we seem to be okay now. All right, we seem to be okay now. I lowered the quality gonna dip a little bit. I lowered the settings. Apparently having it on high quality. Y'all gotta realize, some of y'all don't care, but y'all need to realize we're broadcasting in 4K. Then we're downscaling it to 2K, right? And we send it to YouTube. We're sending YouTube Dolby Digital with Atmos. We're sending that to YouTube. Dolby digital audio. We're sending that to YouTube. We also, for the first time today, we're sending 6 tracks. Normally the settings for streaming say 1 track. We're sending 6. So we broadcasted in 5.1, which is 6 speakers. But we're sending 6 tracks, 1 track for each speaker. You got your center speaker, you got your left front and right, then you got your right front and right. That's 5, and then your subwoofer. So if you have a 5.1, you have 6 speakers. We are doing 6 audio stereo tracks, 1 for each speaker. And we're broadcasting at 5.1, which is 5, and your subwoofer is the 6th speaker. That's the 0.1. If you got a 2.1, you got a right and left, and then you got a stub. The 0.1 means subwoofer. It's a 3rd speaker. So we're sending 6 tracks out for all 6 speakers. And we're broadcasting in 5.1 digital Dolby Stereo. This was the first time that we tried the 6 tracks thing, so, but you notice you don't see that yellow bar. Remember that yellow bar was coming across the screen? And it was saying we noticed multiple tracks, but we only see 1 track. That's because we were sending that 5.1, but we were sending it in YouTube in just 1 track, right and left for stereo. Now we're sending 6 different tracks, right and left on each one. Y'all might not understand, but you can understand a pair of headphones. You got your right and your left ear. That's stereo. You only got an earbud. That's mono. Mono mean 1. Stereo mean 2. So we're broadcasting 6 different tracks to you right now. This is what I'm sending to YouTube. 6 different tracks. Dolby Digital 5.1 stereo. Each of those 6 tracks has a right and left ear. You notice on most of your speakers on your sound systems, you'll have a speaker in the center. That's your woofer. And then you'll have a tweeter. That's 2 speakers. So we sending a right and left to all 6 speakers. Some of you got 2 speakers on 1 speaker. Like if you got a center speaker, you have 2 speakers there. You go your right and left. Those of you that just have a regular speaker, you just got your subwoofer. Is that one that reach? Will this one reach? I don't think y'all can see it. Let me try this one. We got plenty of speakers here. One thing we do have, will this one reach the camera? Reach the, let me see. Can y'all see it? This is one of the, this is the front left speaker. And if y'all see, there's a speaker here, and there's a speaker here at the bottom. See it? There's a speaker here, there's a speaker there. Now, I can't show you the center speaker. That has 2 full speakers on it because it's holding up the light leaning on it. The light that's above my head is leaning on it. If I do that, it's going to drop. Might bop me in the head. So, anyway, now it says the screen is black. Do a refresh. I'm looking. Yeah, that's 84%. I'm going to switch. They look fine now. You do a refresh. Like I said, I lowered the encoding settings, and I'm noticing I keep getting this on the webcam. It happens every show. Why? Go to chroma key. Now it's on the other side. Can I get a middle ground? Can we get like a middle ground or something? All right, that seems to have done it. While I'm here, let's add a little bit of color. Can we go to color correction? Let's see here. What do you want to change? Change saturation. There we go. Can we take out the gamma? Oh, that's too much. All right, what do y'all think? How did that look? All right, excuse me, we showing off a little bit of the technology. But that's what we have here at the Minister Brother Derrick Show. Now we just get the people. But Arnaya says she sees a black screen. All right, so let's get started. Oh, now it's saying it again. Yeah, whatever. Now it's saying it again. Whatever, Mr. D. You've been fighting me a lot on this. I understand. You gotta do what you gotta do. So now it's back. We thought we had beat it, but it's back. We ain't gonna cry about it. I'm sending it to YouTube. What they do with it, I can't control. Let's go. But just know it's being mixed in. Alrighty. Hey. Our topic today is, does God work through intervention? Does God intervene in our lives? If we have free will, does God intervene in our lives? You know, you hear me constantly say that the United States is supposed to be the land of the free. But you can't be free. If you own your own island and you own everything on it, you can do what you want to do. And guess what? You're free. Somebody else comes to that island and takes half of it, and you can't beat them up. You're no longer free. Whatever peace rules you come with to the person that came to your island and took half of it, when you on your side of the island, you can do whatever you want to do. But when you go to their side of the island, you got to do what they do. If a third person tries to come and take a spot at the island, y'all join together and get rid of that outside threat. Right? I just described to you the United States. See, as long as you on your side of the island, you can make up the rules and do what you want to do. That person on the other side of the island, them and their people, they make up the rules and do what they want to do. Now, they have to come up with some kind of peace treaty, and they have to make laws. Because if you're supposed to be on this side of the island, you ain't got no business coming over there without being invited, and vice versa. If you like to play music and shoot fireworks, and the other people trying to sleep, you have to have laws. If somebody get a nice 100-inch TV and somebody on the other side of the island hear about it and they decide to sneak over and try to steal it, how are you going to get it back? So therefore, you must have an enforcer to keep the peace, to keep people from stealing and doing all kind of things. So in actuality, you're not free. And I keep explaining this to y'all. Y'all don't get it. You're not free. If I'm China and I'm in Chinatown, to an extent, I can do whatever I want to do. But when I break a law of the city, other people will come stop me from doing what I want to do. So you're not free to do whatever you want to do. From in Little Italy, Paisan, and we sitting there grilling out and having a party. We got 10,000 watts of music bumping. The Polish people 2 or 3 blocks away are not going to be happy about that. They're trying to sleep. They're going to come and say, turn that mess down. Hey, you go back over there to your Polish section. We can do what we want to do over here. But even though you 3 blocks away, you got my windows rattling. My kids can't sleep. I got a newborn. You got to turn that mess down. So somebody's going to call the police. So you're not free because you want to blast your music. You're not free to do it. The person want to go to sleep, but they can't sleep because you blasting the music. They can't do it. So where's the freedom? You're not free. Free means you do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it. If you don't want to wear a mask and you want to walk around, you see people telling you, hey, get out of here. You ain't got no mask on. Hey, put a mask on. You're not free. You want to go out and protest and they tell you it's a 9 o'clock curfew. And you say, I want to go protest, screw you. And they send the National Guard and send the tear gas and the rubber bullets at you. You're not free. So stop lying and saying that we are free. If I live in a gated community and I see a minority person walking through the gate, I'm going to go, hey, look, I pay money to live in this gated community, so I ain't got to see hooligans like you. Get out. You don't get out, I'm going to call security. So that person is not free to walk around anywhere. And you are limited because as long as you stay within them gates, you can do whatever you want to do. But if you got neighbors inside that gate, they can stop you from doing what you want to do. If one of your neighbors is a couple that believe in nudism and they out there sunbathing and your little kids are looking at them pointing, you're going to make them stop. So they're not free to practice their nudism. They're not free to sunbathe in the nude in their yard because people can look in there and see them. You're not free. So stop saying the land of the free, because in order to have order, or to have peace, you got to take somebody's freedoms. And the question becomes, how much freedom will you give up? When we had the 9/11 and George Bush was having everybody tap everybody's phones, they got you so scared of the terrorists that you said, okay, so now they can actually tap your phone. They can check your bank records to make sure you ain't sending no money someplace they think you shouldn't be. You said, sure. Well, you just gave up 2 freedoms. If you're giving up your freedom, are you free? I'll ask you again. If you're giving up your freedom, how you free? If you paid for your house and you paid for the land on it, how can somebody tell you you can't beat your kids? If that's what you do. You're supposed to be free. If you want to be free to beat your kids, you should be able to beat your kids. But can't the neighbors call CFS, DFS on you? And they come in your house and take your kids out of there? Where's the freedom? If you believe that you want to beat your kids, why can't you beat them? That's not free. Stop saying that word. As long as you're around other people, you are not free. Now, being free from being under the tyranny of China, or being under the tyranny of North Korea, or being under the tyranny of the Middle East, yes, you're free from that. But in everyday living, you're not free. You know, if you got a bully that live on the end of your block, and you want to go down to the end of the block to put some mail in the mailbox, you know that bully might be there and he might beat you up. So you walk 5 or 6 blocks to another mailbox when you got a mailbox right there at the end of your block. But you don't want to get beat up, so you make that walk. Well, guess what? You ain't free. That's not freedom. But this is what we call freedom. This is why we have conflict. And I keep reminding y'all of that because y'all keep saying, I'm free to do what I want to do. No, you're not. You're only as free as your next door neighbor will let you be. You're only as free as your mayor will let you be. You only as free as your governor will let you be. You only free as the Congress will let you be. You only free as long as the president will let you be. So stop saying you're free. You only free when you can do what you want to do 100% of the time with no interruption, with no sanctions, with no bans, with no consequences. If you can't do that, you're not free. There's a lot of drug dealer kingpins that actually control parts of cities. But the feds is watching them. And the minute they slip up, they're going to go in there and get them. So even they not, you know that they got armed men walking around protecting them. They got the whole community scared. They scared of the feds. So with all that power, they're not free. You only free when you ain't got nobody else around you. And you can do what you want to do. The problem is, if you are that, somebody's going to come take it from you. If you go by island, somebody's going to come to invade. There really is no place you can go be free. Unless you can make your own electricity, you're at the mercy of the power company. Unless you can make your own cell towers, you're at the mercy of the phone company. Unless you can create a device that lets you steal all the cable channels. If you enjoy watching cable, your HBO and your TNT and all that, guess what? You at the mercy of the cable company. They want to jack your price up, ain't damn thing you can do about it. Except go to another cable company and then be at their mercy. So where are you free? You limited no matter what you do. So stop saying you're free. Stop saying I got a right to do that. You only got a right as far as the next person. If you decide you want to put up a big picture of Donald Trump that says the best president in the world, see how fast your neighbors come make you take it down. So where you free at? Where are you free? I'm just asking the question. That's what I do. I ask the question. Our topic today is on intervention. Does God intervene in our lives? How can God intervene in our lives? If he gave us free will, that means we can go all willy-nilly. Isn't that what it means? I just explained to you what being free is. If he gave us free will, that means we can do whatever we want to do. Isn't that what free will means? So if he gives you free will, how can he come back and say, you can't do that? I'm going to stop that. I'm going to cut you down. I just explained to you what free meant. See how it ties together? See, we don't just mumble and bumble here. We tie things together. If God gave you free will and you can do whatever you want to do, how? How can he intervene and stop you from doing what you want to do? So you hear a lot of people say, how come atheists always seem to do well? You might say, how come the most evilest people always seem to do well? They are freer than you if you are a Christian. Because when you accept God's grace, you essentially give up that free will. And this is where the confusion starts. Because people think, well, I got free will, I can do what I want to do, and I can still belong to God. As I've shown you, there is you know what? Let's get this person out of here. Let's get this half dead up out of here. And let's get them before they try to run. Let's get them out of here. Bye-bye. Take it easy and take it slow. And go where you got to go. Go where you got to go. Now, we're doing a sermon. Why did I get him out of here? We know who that is. By the way, you know who that is. You know who that is. But we got her out of here because she's trying to disrupt the sermon and she's not saying anything worth saying. You have to learn the difference between having somebody that says something intelligent and somebody who's just there to troll you. She didn't give you not one good thing to go against what I said. How can you go against what I said? It makes common sense. But see, they got the little problem in their brain where they take the logic and then they turn it around and put it, and then when they say something or type something, it's not what went in, but it's what they processed and changed around. And then they bring it out to you. And to them, after they processed it and changed it around, to them, it makes sense. I just explained to you what the word free means and gave you a long drawn out example. So you can't say that you don't understand what I'm talking about. I took you from the front to back, the east, west, north, and the south. And now I'm tying it into the sermon. Because a lot of people say to themselves, how could God let this happen? Why did God let this happen? If you're supposed to be free from him and everybody, why should God intervene? You to come to him through Jesus. You say, I ain't doing that. I'm free. I'll do what I want to do. Why should he help you? Why should he help you? Anybody want to answer that? I'll listen. I'll give them a shot. If they come back with something else, oh, now he took them out. Oh, well. I was going to give him a chance. They always say that, did we get rid of everybody too soon? Now the data dropping for no reason at all. Why is the data dropping? It was only for a second, but it went to 0. What's the matter? You mad, Mr. D? You sure hate me do my sermon, don't you? But we're going to keep doing them. Get mad all you want. I'll go outside with a bullhorn if that's what it takes to get it done. Oh, you bringing our frames down. We broadcasting. We starting out in 4K. You ain't doing nothing. You can't. We starting out with 3,800 pixels. You think if you take a couple of frames, it's going to mess the picture up? You dumber than I thought you were, sir. So instead of doing 30, you got us doing 14 frames a second. At this high resolution, you think the OBS can't work with 16 frames instead of 30? The movies use 24. You really think that's going to make our picture look bad? To make somebody turn away. Oh, his picture look bad. Yeah. Most people don't have 4K TVs. Most people don't have 2K TVs. This picture is going to look good no matter what TV you watch. You're wasting your time, sir. Let's get back to our sermon. Like I was saying, why do you pray to God when you won't accept his terms? If you want to live in the community and they say your mailbox can't have nothing on it, it's got to be plain and it's got to be a certain size, you move in and you put this big old pink shaped like an elephant mailbox, they're going to come knock it down. But the rules is you supposed to have a regulation mailbox with nothing on it so it don't stand out. So you're not free to put the mailbox that you want. You're not free. To have a society, you can't be free. You have to look at freedom versus being in prison, or freedom versus being enslaved. But you're not free. But see, if I'm in the jail, I can go in there and beat everybody up and intimidate them while I'm in the cell block. I can do whatever I want till the guards come around. When I tell the guards, hey, I'm running this, I'm free, they're going to go get the SWAT team. They're going to come in with the shields and the helmet and the batons. So you're not free. Even though you might be to the prisoners, you might be the man, do whatever you want to do. You have to understand what being free means. Free means being on your own. Free means to be on your own. I'm in this apartment now. I can do whatever I want to do. But if I start making too much noise, my neighbors can call the police. Or they can call the landlord. So am I free? No, I'm not. So stop saying you're free. You're not even free in your own home. But you want to be free from Jesus Christ and God. But when you get in trouble, you want them to come help you. They have rules and conditions. The same way if you want to take your children to school, they got to have their shots. They got to have their paperwork, social security card. You can't just throw them in the school and say, hey, I'm free. My child coming here. It's rules you got to follow. And as long as you have rules, you're not totally free. And this is where people get in trouble with religion. They think that, well, I'm a Christian now. I ain't got no rules. There are rules to being a Christian. You have 10 commandments that you must follow. Those are rules. If you got rules, how are you free? We all give our freedom up. When you go to the amusement park, your little kid won't get on a roller coaster. He ain't tall enough. He can't get on it. You're not free. To be a Christian, there are rules you must follow. But most people don't want to follow the rules. They want to do what they want to do. You can't do that. You can't do it in life. Why do you think you can do it with Jesus and God? If I decide I want to go outside and I want to piss in the middle of the street, they don't come lock me up. Shouldn't I be free to piss in the middle of the street? Who am I hurting? Pissing in the middle of the street. Don't nobody want their kids looking at somebody pissing in the middle of the street. They might start doing it. Urine attracts rodents and insects and wild animals. So why would you want to piss in the middle of the street? That's what the judge is going to tell you while he's hollering at you. That's what the cop going to tell you while he's handcuffing you. That's what the neighbors are going to say as they cheer when you get thrown in the back of the paddy wagon. So, if you want to be free, why do you pray to God to come help you? Why do you say, oh, Jesus? Jesus don't know you. You ain't gave Jesus no thought. You want to be free. Jesus said, you must love me more than anybody else. Loving somebody requires work. Loving somebody requires effort. Loving somebody requires discipline. You're not free. You need to understand that. You're not free. You can't go out there and be at the club all night and then go in church the next morning still smelling like cheap women and liquor. And expect everybody not to go. There are rules when you go to church. They say come as you are. If you come in there raggedy the first time, you come in there raggedy the second time, you come in there stinking after about 5 months, somebody's going to say, look, you've been coming here long enough. I know you've been able to get some clothes. Do we need to get you some body wash or something? You come here every Sunday for 5 months stinking. You stink up the whole church. Well, we try to focus on what the preacher's saying, and we just, got out here. So even though the Bible says come as you are, you're only going to be allowed to come as you are so many times. You women that stumble in from the club, because you're in the club till 5 a.m., then you find an after-hour spot, then you go to the Waffle House, then you stumble into the church. Smelling like behind and underarm and got all kinds of stuff in your teeth. And you sitting there in the church trying to just look all so. After about 5 or 6 times, somebody gonna pull you up and say, look, we appreciate you come worship with us, but you could at least go home and shower and put on some decent clothes before you come in. You got to think of everybody else. If you have to worry about everybody else, you're not free. Notice I keep coming back to that word free, because people say it all the time. I'm free to do what I want. No, you're not. You're not even free to do what you want with Jesus and God. You think you can go out there and rape and kill people and say, hey, I belong to the Jesus Christ God family. Really? Well, yeah, I can do what I want. Long as I say that I know that Jesus Christ is Lord of Lords, I can say and do whatever I want. Really? You're going to find yourself in that daggone furnace. Where you going to find yourself? You can't do whatever you want. But if you claim that you are free from any of God's restrictions, why should he intervene and help you when you get in trouble? If you roll with people that believe that way, why shouldn't you fall down with them by association? I've heard many a person say, that was a good Christian person. How could they die? Why were they there with those people? They know they shouldn't be hanging out with them atheists, but they hang out with them anyway. You're sitting there eating with them, you're drinking with them, you're kissing and hugging on them. When them bullets come through the windows, why shouldn't the bullet hit you? They're supposed to skip you. Hold on. You believe in Jesus Christ. I got to go around you. The weatherman telling you a hurricane coming and you got tickets to go out on a cruise. And the spirit tell you don't go, and you say, oh, shut up. I paid for these tickets. I'm going. And you go out there, and the ship get turned upside down. Why do you think you get to call God to come save you? You was already warned by the Spirit, don't go. But you took your free will, and you went. So deal with the consequences. Why should somebody feel sorry for you? You was warned not to go. You still went anyway. You did what you wanted to do, so you deal with that hurricane. The ship on top of you, get it off you. Swim off from under it. Oh, now you got a shark chasing you. Well, deal with the shark. You want to be free. You don't need no help. You want to be free. Right? So why do you pray then? Why do you expect some intervention from God then? Why do you expect Jesus to say, all right, hold the presses? Jamil in trouble over there. Can we get a couple angels to go over there and help Jamil out? Oh, wait a minute. He's not in our family. Oh well. I'm asking the questions. Because a lot of people go around with this false sense. And I understand. There's a lot of preachers that want your money. They tell you anything you want to hear. I ain't one of them. I tell you the truth. So that you can make the necessary corrections. If I lie to you, you don't make the corrections. You don't make the corrections, you're going in the furnace. This isn't hard. You follow man laws, but why you can't follow God's laws? You want to go ride the bus? You know you can't bring a whole bunch of stuff with you and get on the bus. You know when you ride the bus, you got to have the exact fare or a bus pass to get on there. I'm free. I don't pay to get on. You won't get on that bus? You want to buy a home, you at the mercy of the bank. You need a bank to front you the money. They're going to put you through the mill. You're going to do every step they tell you to do because you want that home. So you can do what the bank will tell you, but you can't do what Jesus tell you. You want to get a car loan. You want that nice new fancy car. You do whatever the dealership, the finance company wants you to do, but you won't do what God tell you to do. You'll follow somebody's laws when you get what you want. But you won't follow God's laws. Why do you expect him to intervene for you? Why do you expect him to help you? As far as they're concerned, you going in the furnace. Why should they waste time on you? I'm just asking questions. If you have a child you love to death, and they get hooked on crack, and they keep coming in your house and taking everything, they ain't cleaned you out, cleaned your bank account out, ran your credit card up, took everything of value out your house, at some point you're going to say, look, you can't come in here no more. But you love them, right? You still love them. When they ain't doing that stuff, you love them. We had a family member. When she ain't on that stuff, she's cool to be around. But when she on that stuff, she's unbearable. You don't stop loving the person, stop loving the behavior the person brings. And then you separate yourself from it. God keep giving you chances, but you won't trust him. You won't put everything into him. Still want to go chase that drug. You come to him, he tell you to tone it down. You say, no, I got to be seen. Look at me. I got to be seen. I'm not toning nothing. I got to be seen. And then you go out there and something happens to you, and then you, hey, that happened to me. Didn't you want to go do what you wanted to do? Why should he intervene? Whether you do right or whether you do wrong, God still loves you. He don't love your attitude, don't love what you do, but he still loves you. That's why you wake up. That's why you still breathe. If he didn't love you, why he wouldn't take you out? But see, you got a choice. Run with him or run with yourself and the devil. Which choice are you taking? What's more valuable? We got a president of the United States that's more interested in the economy than he is in dead people. More interested in the stock market than he is at the fact that we got almost 8 million. We're going to hit 8 million in a week or so. 8 million people infected with the coronavirus that we know of. There are millions that ain't been tested, but the ones that we know of. We got a man that told you, you ain't got to wear no mask. You ain't got to social distance. You ain't got to wash your hands. You don't need to carry around no hand sanitizer. You don't need none of that stuff. And sat there and caught it. And the minute he got up to the top step of where he was going in the White House, was the first thing he did. Pull that mask off his face. So even though he got the CV, they got him all drugged up. First thing he did at that man, didn't learn nothing. You gotta look at the behavior of people. The behavior. The behavior of people. I made an error today that might cost us the show for a whole month. I paid the phone bill, checked the card, saw what was on there, and put the rest on bills. So everything caught up. Phone company took that time actually taking the money. So that money went to the phone, went to the bills, the BG&E and other stuff. Even the cord, the replacement cord you saw me buy on Amazon. They didn't take it until it shipped. The Amazon Prime, they took that $5.99. So when the phone company came around and went to take that money, guess what? It wasn't that. That new cord for the Bluetooth speaker supposed to be coming later on today. Why didn't Amazon take that money when we ordered on Friday? Why did they wait? Why did they wait so long to take the Amazon Prime? So we might not have phone service I don't know if they cut it off on the 11th or the 13th, but I had to go look. It's one or the other. But after that, y'all gonna have a whole month free of me. Y'all don't have to worry about Brother Derrick. phone company did something that nobody else could do. Stop us from streaming. Stop me from come bringing you the message. Am I worried? No. Because God will intervene. If he wants us to keep coming, he will intervene. And somebody from somewhere. Yeah, they don't charge into the item of shit. I wish I never realized that. Because we could have gone without a Bluetooth speaker for a month. Y'all don't like the music anyway. We could have done without that. But I saw something that we needed. And so I got it. Now I'm sitting there looking at getting a suspension post for the bike. I talked myself out of it. I said, no. Put the money on the bills. You don't need it. Whenever Congress get around to giving us our stimulus, you'll go get your new bike. Stop putting money into the old one. Because when you get the new bike, you're not going to want to ride the old one. You're probably going to want to sell it. Or you'll have it sitting in the corner as a backup. But you're not going to be riding it. So why pour money into it? So I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and take care of these bills. And we did the right thing. Now, if I had ordered the part, then we would have had the part here and wouldn't have had no money to get it installed. I was watching videos on fat tires, and they were like, if you don't have suspension, fat tires take a lot of the bumps out, which makes our videos, our mobile live shaky. But I realized I'm the only one that complain about it. Y'all don't complain about it. So why should I do it? Go ahead and put this money on the bills. Y'all don't complain about the shakiness. Y'all don't say nothing. Y'all still be there in the chat chatting away. When I watch the video, I'm like, how do y'all watch this? I can't watch it. But y'all don't say nothing. So if y'all ain't saying nothing, why should I? And see, when you do that, that makes the devil mad. But see, we would have got, even if I got the tires, we would have had the tires in the inner tube, and then wouldn't have had no money to get them installed, so they'd be sitting there looking dumb for a month. Or we would have got the post, and the mechanic would have tried to install it, but he wouldn't have done it right. You see the seat sitting like this instead of straight. So we did the right thing and we didn't get it. But before I paid anything else, I paid the phone bill. I can go outside and do a show. I can have somebody run me an extension cord and charge it up. We have 6 power banks. That power bank sitting over there that we don't carry on the bike, that thing do 40,000 milliamp. That thing could run a TV for 2 days. But without no data, what good is it? That's why we paid the phone bill first. Why they didn't take that money, I don't know. But they allowed everybody else to take a little dippy. But we're not going to cry about it. If it is, it is, it is. Know what they say? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Maybe people won't take me for granted or seeing me every day. Maybe when I come back, they'll say, hey, Brother Derrick back, let's go look. Maybe a lot of the people that don't come chat but watch the show afterwards, maybe they'll come and come in during the chat. You gotta try to find the good in bad situations. But does God work through divine intervention? If you're taking advantage of the free will that you were given, why do you expect God to come intervene? I'll give you the example again. If I buy my own island, and it's just me on that, if some cannibals from another island come to my island, and I won't let nobody on there, I won't talk to nobody, why should anybody care if them cannibals come and take over my island? Why should anybody lift a hand? So why do you expect God, after you turn your back on him, after you spit in his face, after you ignore the people that he sent to bring you to him, why do you expect him to intervene? That's the question I'm asking. Are you so vain? Are you so into yourself? People tell me no man is an island. I'm close. I'm about as close as you can get to being an island. I keep to myself. But there's the mechanic. There's the girl around the front of the building. There's the two guys upstairs. There's the white lady around the corner. Even though I keep to myself, I still talk enough to these people that I could go to them if I need help for certain things. I wouldn't go to them for money, but because of the fact that I got the drug dealers from dealing drugs from down there, because of the fact that I stopped the building from being blown up 2 times for gas links, because of the fact that I can carry on a conversation with everybody, if in trouble, they will come. It ain't something you want to keep using over and over again and be a burden on somebody. But somebody will say, hey, that's a guy, nice guy. He don't bother nobody. He's always cool. He helps out. Why are you messing with him? But you don't even have that kind of relationship with Jesus Christ and God. So why do you think they should intervene? It might seem like I'm sticking on this, but I wanted to get in your head. I want you to understand. I don't want it to go in your ear and you turn it around and put it out this ear as something else. I want to keep beating you upside the head with this message because it's important. Because I see a lot of people that walk around, they got the little hat on, little church hat, They got a little dress on, or got the suit on, the money, looking all sharp and soon as Sunday come over, that stuff come right off. And the hoochie gear come right on. And they think because they spend them 3 or 4 hours looking snazzy, looking sharp, looking clean, what that got to do with Jesus and God? What does that have to do with Jesus and God? That's all I'm asking. What does that have to do with Jesus and God? That's so y'all know the hat caused that shadow. What does that have to do with Jesus and God? Nothing. Because you have nothing to do with Jesus and God unless it benefits you. If it benefits you, yeah, oh yeah, I love Jesus. You trying to get into a little circle, a little lounge, and you see they religious. Praise Jesus, how y'all doing? Hey, can I join y'all? One Christian to another. Hey, can I join the club? Yeah, you know I'm in. You trying to get a promotion and a raise, and your boss say, hey, I want to invite you to come to church with us. Church? Yeah, I'll be there. Praise Jesus. Your boss might not know you full of crap, but Jesus and God do. You might can fool your boss. You might can fool your coworkers for a while. Pretty soon somebody gonna say, how come you ain't never got no Bible on your desk? How come you don't never have no literature on Christianity? How come we don't never see you pray? See, this is when man find out you full of crap. But Jesus and God know from the get-go. See, your actions will let them know you full of crap. People around you. But Jesus and God can look into your heart and know you full of stuff. And you think, well, I can go fool everybody else. You can't fool them. You doing all that fake stuff. They shaking their head like, look at this fool. I break it down and keep it simple. I'm not going to sit here and try to impress you with big words or come up with all these crazy catchphrases like, hey, neighbor. I just tell you the truth, but you can understand it. So you can't say, didn't nobody tell me this? Are you standing in front of that altar, seeing everybody get thrown in? You're not going to be able to say, oh, Brother Derrick was right. God darn it. I should have listened to that little scuffit. Doggone it. Why ain't I listening to him? That's what you're going to be saying to yourself. He's sitting here trying to tell me. And because of the way he talk and the way he look, and because of where he live, and because he don't have a lot of money, I'm not going to listen to him. But when you close your eyes, all the stuff that you value, you can't take it with you. Everything you value, you can't take it with you. You think because a man put on a suit and some wingtips, you think he's legit. You think because a woman put on a nice office set, you know, with the vest and she got the skirt on and a nice blouse, the ruffles in it, you think she looks professional. That's her look. I keep using that phrase, wolf in sheep's clothing. Stop looking at the outer appearance and listen to what they say. Then watch what they do. That's how you check somebody out. Not by what they say, not by how they look. Watch what they do. Do what they do, back up what they say. But you just keep, look, he got the nice little Cadillac. Look at him out here. I gotta go follow him. Look at that Cadillac he got. Yeah, I gotta go follow him. He got always got them designer suits on, boy. You know he doing well. If he buying all that designer stuff, what's he doing for the poor? And now we in the church. Look at the fancy speakers in here, and look at the nice altar, and so they got money for all this stuff, but they can't help the poor. A preacher can ask you for a fancier car. A preacher can ask you to put fancy church lights. A preacher can ask you for money to build the stage for the praise dancers to dance on. Y'all don't see that as begging. That's not begging to y'all. When none of that stuff has anything to do with him getting you to have a relationship with God and Jesus Christ. What does that have to do? It wouldn't matter if you were sitting in a barn somewhere with the horses, as long as he was giving you the correct knowledge. But you'll throw money at that. They got about 5 or 6 envelopes. We got an envelope for the pastor. We got 2 envelopes for the reverends. We got envelopes for the deacons. We got envelopes for the nurses. We got envelopes for the choir. We got envelopes for the praise dancers. We need you to put money in all the envelopes. Come on. Put it in that plate. Ain't none of that got anything to do with God or Jesus. None of it. Now you ought to tithe. It's a command. You ought to tithe. But all that other stuff ain't necessary. But you go pay it and don't complain. But if I say, hey, we need a camera for the mobile lives, stop the bounciness. Oh, you're on here begging. Stop begging. That's why I said the heck with it. I took down the 360-degree camera, took it back off the bike. Y'all don't care. We're going to use this phone that got the smeary look to it. We're going to put that on the left-hand side. And the mount that we just got, I'm going to mount it. It's actually going to be this way. And then this phone that we powering the show with, I'm going to be able to watch and see the chat on the screen. And there you go. Ain't nothing going to be on my shoulder. Ain't nothing going to be on my chest. Ain't nothing going to be on top of my daggone head. Because if y'all don't care, why should I walk around looking like a retard? So we're going to be leaving out at 5:30 to make it up to the market when they open at 6. The lights are all charged up. Battery is charged up. power bank for the bike is charged up. Now, we're not going to play music on the way up, because I don't know how much charge is on the Bluetooth speaker. But the cord that we ordered comes today. It takes a double-sided cord. Did I throw it away? No, it's still here. See, I snapped. If I was a whiz, I might could have figured out how to redo it. But the other side going too. The other side is fraying too. So it came with a cheap one. But that's what it came with. So we got a replacement. It'll be here today. And it's coming by the mailman. This will fit in the mailbox, okay? So we ain't got to go outside and sit and wait for him. It'll be in the mailbox today. It will be in the... So. Now, I could have went to 7-Eleven and wasted some and wasted the food stipend buying that overpriced stuff. But I'll wait. But that's what I could have done. But I'll wait. I want some good stuff. And I can get some good stuff from the market. And I said, well, I could have tried to make myself go to sleep until 5. And I said, no. We didn't do this sermon last night. Let's go ahead and do it. And that's what we're doing. I could watch the clock all night. Or I can come bring a message. And that's what we're doing. So, I ask you again, if you won't follow the command of Jesus Christ through Lord God Jehovah, why do you expect him to intervene in your life? I think it would be his choice. Maybe he can see potential in you. Maybe he might say, well, you know, maybe I can send some more people. And maybe he or she will come around. But that's his choice. But you made the choice when you said, food on you. Get out of here. I'm not doing none of that stuff. Hear that mumbo jumbo? Take that mumbo jumbo. Take that white religion the man gave you in slavery. I'm not going to follow that stuff. God darn it. That religion was here long before the white man came along. But that's how you're going to use your brain to rationalize your way. All you doing is separating yourself from Jesus and God. And when something bad happens to you, and it will, how can you complain? How can you complain? 1, and 2, how can you ask for help? And 3, how can you go around all mad talking about, yeah, they could have helped me out? Why should they? These are basic questions that I'm asking. Why should they help you? Why should they care? Why shouldn't they laugh to themselves? Hey, look at this idiot right here thinking he doing something. He don't even know. Their whole mountain gray fall on him. He don't even know. Should we warn him? He don't care about us. Come go ahead. Mudslide. Let's take a look at our first article. I haven't read these. Y'all gotta remember, I was going to do an open show. I wasn't even, but I said, go ahead and get it. Does God work through divine intervention? Does God really work through divine intervention? My short answer is no. As my husband would say, God doesn't have to intervene because he's always vening. There may be some silliness to that sentence, but there are also such truth. God is often portrayed as some super spiritual, mystical being that occasionally throws a human a bone. However, that is an inaccurate depiction of the character of God. God does not occasionally jump into our lives when he is bored or desperately needed. He has been engaged in our lives since the beginning of time. God does not have to intervene because he is by nature sovereign, having supreme authority and control over the world. When we view God as sovereign, we don't need to ask if he really works through divine intervention. Since this question will be misleading, instead we should ask, how does God's sovereign nature reveal divine intervention? What does the Bible really say about divine intervention? The Bible speaks of divine intervention from beginning to end. There is not a page of the Bible that doesn't boast of the glory of God, the goodness of God, and the divine work of God. God created the universe and humans, not only initiating our existence, but involving himself in the smallest details of our lives. God by nature is sovereign over all his creation. We are simply clay in the potter's hands. Isaiah 64:8. God's sovereign nature reveals divine intervention. The biblical view of God's sovereign nature means that he has supreme authority and that all things are under his control. As Christians, we serve a God that never slumbers. He's always working towards his own glory. Psalms 121:4. He is not small and infinite as we are. The God of the Bible is our protector, provider, and personal intercessor. God is not lazy, looking down at humans and amused by our choices. Isaiah 28:40. But is intimately involved in all aspects of our lives. He knows the very number of hairs on our head and has knit each one of us in our mother's womb. Psalm 139. He is sovereign, all-powerful, all-knowing, and determines each of our steps. His sovereign nature is at work all throughout Scripture. But let's look at 5 ways we see it play out in our own lives. God is sovereign over pain and suffering. When heartache hits, God is our greatest comforter. Psalm 34:18. Suffering on this earth will not last, as he has promised to wipe away every tear from our eyes. Revelation 21:4. In the midst of our pain, he takes what is intended for evil and turns it into good. Genesis 50:20. He allows our testing. 1 Peter 1:6-7. And just as in all he does, the book of Job, I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. Job 42:2. God is sovereign over all our victories. Joshua 6. He is the one who gives us breath and life, just as he is our ultimate source of joy. Psalms 5:11. All good gifts come from him. James 1:17. And there is not a single blessing that does not have his fingerprints upon it. Philippians 2:13, Genesis 16:21. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than we all ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be glory in the church and in Jesus Christ throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians 3:20. 3. God is sovereign over our calling. He directs our steps and weaves together the plans he has for us. Jeremiah 21:11-13. God is ultimately in control of our jobs, our homes, our living, and our mission. Acts 9:1-31. He does not neglect us in his plans or leave us to our own devices. He is intricately involved in bringing us where he wants, when he wants. the book of Jonah. And God is able to make grace abound to you, so that having all sufficiency in all things at all times, so that you may abound in every good work. 2 Corinthians 9:8. God is sovereign over our futures. In Christ we have escaped a world of sin and become partakers of God's divine nature. 2 Peter 1:4. Because of this, we do not have to fear the future or experience anxiety in the unknown. God is watching over us. Psalm 23. Establishing each of our steps. Proverbs 16:9. In God's sovereign power, we can walk into our futures knowing that He has granted to us all wisdom and godliness through His Son. 2 Peter 1:3. In Him we have obtained an inheritance, having been predestined according to the purpose of Him who works all things according to the counsel of His will, so that we, who were the first hope in Christ, might be to the praise of His glory. Ephesians 1:11-12. God is sovereign over all sin. God did not allow sin to enter the world to leave us in brokenness and shame. Genesis 3. He has been sovereign over our sin since the very beginning and continues to be sovereign over it, as He has once and for all taken the penalty for our sin on the cross. God had ultimate power and authority over David's sin as he committed adultery and murder. 2:11-12. Over Job's sin as he wrestles with doubts of God's justice. Job 42. And over Judas' sin as he betrayed Jesus. Matthew 26:28. There is no sin too great for Him to forgive, and there is no sin that reaches outside of His grasp. If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. 1 John 1:9. The cross revels in divine intervention. As Christians, we cannot wonder if God really works through divine intervention, but instead look at life through the lens of the gospel. We must see how God created us as beautiful eternal beings who became marked by sin and in need of a Savior. We must see that the whole story of our universe of the Bible is the ultimate works of God's divine intervention and plan. The work of the cross is not a one-time exception in our world. The work of the cross reveals in the very divine nature of who God is. Christ's life, death, and resurrection are the very reason we are here, the very reason we have oxygen in our lungs and blood beating through our hearts. Jesus took our guilt and shame and nailed it to the cross with Himself, defeating sin, Satan, and shame once and for all. 3 days later, He rose from the grave, defeating death and gifting us with His eternal presence. Because of Christ, we no longer have to tire or fear. We no longer have to beat ourselves up or give in to shame. We are no longer marked by sin and separated from God's presence, because belief in the gospel provides a right relationship with God. We are now forever loved, forever forgiven, and forever graced by His presence and fulfillment of joy. The cross beautifully reveals God's sovereign plan to restore His people and reconcile them to Himself. The only thing we had to do is respond in faith to the gospel. How do we respond to God's sovereign nature? First, we respond to God's sovereignty by giving God all the glory. The chief end of a man is to know God intimately and make Him fully known in our lives. Every breath of fresh air we take is an act of God's sovereignty, as He holds the whole world in His hands. Psalms 95:3-6. Therefore, we respond to God through the praise and thanksgiving of all that we have and all that we are, giving God the glory. Psalms 145. Second, we respond with unceasing prayer. 1 Thessalonians 5:17. Seeking God in each move we make, thanking Him with every step, and generously asking for His wisdom. James 1:5. His sovereign nature doesn't allow for apathetic, lukewarm Christians who slough off their God-given purpose. His sovereignty propels us to glorify Him through the work that He has called each one of us to do. Ephesians 2:10. To make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, A call for all disciples of Jesus, Matthew 28:16-20, to proclaim his excellency, his glory, and his grace over and over again. 1 Peter 2:9-10. And to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, strength, and mind, seeking the benefit of others over ourselves. Matthew 22:37-39. Lastly, we respond to God's sovereignty, knowing that in all things we can be fully satisfied in the very nature of who God is. Psalm 73:26. Despite our circumstances, suffering, trials, and joys, we can be content in all things no matter what is happening around us. Philippians 4:11-13. We may not fully understand what he is doing, but we can always trust that he does all things for our good and his glory, for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Throughout our lives, there may be times where we wonder why God has placed us in such circumstances. We may question his existence or experience suffering beyond what we can even imagine. However, we must keep in mind that God will never leave us nor forsake us. Deuteronomy 31:6. At times, it may feel as if the music of our lives has stopped, or if only a few keys of the piano are coming together. But the reality is that God is always conducting a 10,000 plus instrument orchestra on our behalf. He's always initiating, engaging, and adjusting, and personally playing the music that make our souls come alive. Is that it? Yep. All right. Now, the one thing that I didn't get from that was the person assumes that you have accepted God's grace and are walking with him. It didn't say, what about the people that ain't walking? It didn't speak on that. It did not speak on that. Let's see if we can find that in our next story. What am I yawning for? I slept all day. You should be wide awake. I think I'm going to say that for last. We're going to say that one for last. Let's get to this one. Yeah, I don't read these. Is this the same story? Excuse me. I ain't yawning for. Alright, we went too far. Get back. Alright. There we go. Alright, that's the biggest I can blow it up for y'all. See y'all see it. Not showing up on the phone or the tablet. Alright, there it is. Alright, God's policy of non-intervention. Before we can look at specific Bible passages regarding the violence of God in Scripture, it is important to develop a framework which helps us to understand what is going on within and behind these violent texts. I have 6 points of this framework, which I call the chaos theory. The first point of this chaos theory is this: God's policy of non-intervention. The first principle to recognize about the violent events that happen in this world, whether they are naturally occurring events such as earthquakes and tsunamis, or man-caused events like war and terrorism, is that none of these are caused by God. God does not orchestrate suffering, cause death, send storms, destroy lives, or bring about death. He allows these things. He even uses these things toward his good ends. but he does not cause them. In the beginning, God set up a universe with genuinely free creatures, which can truly impact their surroundings for good or evil. The reason God did this is because if God wanted real relationship with his creatures, ones he could love and who could love him in return, there was no other way to do it. Relational love, if it is to be real love, must be free love. Love that is forced is not love, but something closer to psychological rape. Real love cannot force itself on others, nor can it force others to love in return. You know, that's true. A lot of people try to use intimidation to get acceptance. Some people try to use money to get acceptance. Some people use violence. Some people use mental tricks to get accepted. But that's not love. Somebody who loves you just loves you because you are you. Not because of what you have, not because of how you look, not because of how much money you're giving them, not because you give them a free rides to the store, because you donate to the orphanage and the missions. True love is just somebody loving you for you. And a lot of times people try to buy love through action. And that's not real love, because when you stop those actions, the people don't want to be bothered with you. And if they didn't want to be bothered with you when you're not doing nothing for them, what makes you think they're going to be bothered with you when you stop doing it? Y'all understand where I'm going? God doesn't want to force you to love him. He doesn't want to force you to have him in your life. But a lot of times we act like, man, I don't want to do all that daggone church and stuff. I don't be bothered with that stuff. You know? But then why are you surprised when he don't want to be bothered with you? Since God wanted true and genuine love with us, he gave us true and genuine freedom. God knew the risk of such a gift. In fact, based on his divine foreknowledge and his experience with the rebellion of the angels, God knew that his gift of freedom to humanity would likely result in our rebellion as well, and it did. Humanity would likely result in it. God knew that his gift of freedom to humanity would likely result in our rebellion as well, and it did. But when Adam and Eve sinned, God did not step in to stop them. To do so would have been to deny their genuine freedom. Freedom isn't freedom if God stepped in to stop things when freedom is used in the wrong way. Like I was saying earlier. God gave Adam and Eve the freedom. When Eve went to take that apple, God could have made her shorter because you couldn't reach it. He could have made the apple disappear. He could have made Eve's arm fall off. She would have forgot about the apple. Hit my arm on the ground. But he didn't intervene. Y'all understand that? He could have intervened. When the devil was talking to her through that snake, he could have had the snake drop dead. He didn't intervene. So why do you expect him to intervene when somebody shoot the school up? Why do you expect him to intervene when the terrorists is blowing stuff up? Why do you expect him to intervene? He hasn't intervened from the beginning. Like it or not, just as this was true of God letting Adam and Eve use their freedom as they did, It is also true of God letting each and every other person on the planet use their freedom as they will. Just as God did not stop Adam and Eve, He does not stop us from saying mean things to our spouses, cheating on our taxes, overeating, or letting a curse word slip every now and then. Nor does He stop murderers, thieves, rapists, and child molesters. We wish He would, but once God intervenes in freedom He has given, it is no longer freedom. For God, freedom is worth the cost. And some of y'all will say, well, with Moses and the Pharaoh, God kept hardening Moses' heart. Pharaoh's heart. But Pharaoh, after the first time, could have said, go ahead. But he really didn't want them Israelites to go. The second time, he could have said, get out of here. But instead, he allowed it all the way to the seventh. But at any time, Pharaoh could have just told Moses, get out of here, take the people and go. He didn't want to. At any time, because he had the freedom to just say, get out of here. But God used that to show His mighty power. He used Pharaoh because Pharaoh really didn't want to let the people go. And even after he let the people go, he sent the chariots after them to bring them back. So a lot of people will say that God took Pharaoh's free will. No, He didn't. He used His stubbornness against them. And this to show us that our stubbornness, to keep chasing something that we don't need, to keep going after something that's not right because we want it. That was an example. But a lot of people will try to twist that and say, well, he wasn't letting Pharaoh do what he did. Then why did Pharaoh, after the seventh thing God did to the Egyptian people, and it was so bad, they gave him everything, money, jewelry, clothes, and said, get the heck out of here. Then he sat back and thought about it and said, no, go back and get them. And the money. That Pharaoh didn't want his slaves to go anywhere. That Pharaoh felt that he needed them slaves more than anything. And that's the one thing that trips me out. A boss will treat his employees like he don't need them. But without the employees, he doesn't have a business. He won't run the business. But he acts that way. Our senators act like they don't care what we think. They don't need us. They ain't worried about us. But we give them the money for them to live. That's our money that they playing house with. They play Monopoly with our money. It ain't fake money. They think it's their money. But it's our money. It's their money. Well, I don't think that the country needs stimulus help. Well, who you? People can't even put food on the table. Worrying about getting evicted. But because your life is okay, you assume everybody else should be okay. That's not what we put you in there for. We put you in there to look out for us. We didn't put you in there to condemn us. We didn't put you in there to put judgment on us. You know we got a virus and you ain't doing nothing about it. At least give the people money so they can deal with it. God wants freedom to remain free. This is what I call God's policy of non-intervention. Because God has given freedom, he chooses not to intervene when we use this freedom in sinful and evil ways. In fact, he cannot interfere and allow freedom to remain free. Maybe this is too strongly stated. It's not that God doesn't intervene. He does intervene, probably more than we know. He just doesn't intervene at the times we wish he would, or in the ways we think he should. If God's role in the world was that of a perpetual Mr. Fix-It, it has not, to say the least, been particularly self-evident. And when God finally does show up to fix things, it's not like Zeus with thunder in his footsteps and lightning at his fist, as one Christian worship song so gleefully claims, but with nails through his feet and hands and a spear through his side. When the invisible hand that holds the stars finally does this triumphant restoring thing, it does nothing at all but hang there and bleed. God is involved, but not in ways we expect. All this reveals that when it comes to managing the world, either God does not seem to be doing much at all, or more likely, God's way of guiding and managing the universe does not look at all the way we want or expect. The way we expect to want. He gives us freedom. He gives freedoms to his creatures and then lets them live within the limits of that freedom, and only rarely intervenes or interferes. When he does interfere, it is only in ways we usually cannot see, or in response to our requests. The first principle of the chaos theory helps us to see that when evil does happen, it is not because God is causing them, nor is it because God was powerless to stop them. Quite the contrary, God used his immense power to give genuine and real freedom to humans. And often the evil things that happen are a result of our misuse and abuse of that freedom. God does not stop these actions because God cannot do so and still allow freedom to be free. I have a little bit more to say about this first point of the chaos theory, but for now, what are your thoughts or objections? How can a God who says, love your enemies, Matthew 5:44, be the same God who instructs his people in the Old Testament to kill their enemies? There are all sorts of questions we discuss and try to answer in my only discipleship group. Members of the groups can also take all of my online. Wait a minute. Hey, I'm not advertising you like that, man. Get out of here. Do you have any comments? Anybody got any questions? Hey, is anybody here? Let's take a music break till we get to our last article.
Hey, welcome to the Sunday sermon, everyone. This is Brother Derrick, Minister Brother Derrick. And, you know, I want to come to you, and I want to tell you things that you can use, and things that will get you to have a connection with Jesus and God. So I wrote this, so I hope y'all enjoy it. So let's get to it. St. John wrote that Satan accuses us believers before God day and night. The Lord depends on us to do what is right, but our flesh is not up to stand alone. We lean on Jesus so that we're no longer prone. See, if you're slack, you're vulnerable to attack. In many ways, men today are slaves to the greediness of his flesh. Money, women, and cars. Sports, pornography, and bars. But these are things that God hates. So he separates and chastises us until we change our ways, humble ourselves and pray. Remember, our house on the hill, you can't take it with you. That caddy with the grill, you can't take it with you. dollar bills, you can't take it with you. Only your heart and your thoughts and your attitude will prove your place in heaven or the fires of hell. I wish you peace, and I wish you well. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, your creed or race, by believing in Jesus, we're all going to the same place. And that's good to know that God loves us all, black or white, short or tall. He only asks us to be more like Him. Then you won't want to sin. Let God into your heart and make a fresh start. You have a clean slate. Jesus' blood makes you pure in God's eyes. So stay vigilant and keep the evil and this world at a distance. Ignore the devil's resistance. Keep hoping that you slip. He chips away at your face and he chips away from God's grace. So cling to Jesus, He'll mediate on your behalf. The devil has many demons on his staff, scouting, shouting things in your ear, chipping away at your self-esteem while you daydream. So be alert, then go to the Father and tell Satan and his armies, man, don't even bother. But I say this, that house on the hill, you can't take it with you. That caddy with the grill, you can't take it with you. Those stocking dollar bills, you can't take it with you. Only your heart, your thoughts, and your attitude will prove your place in heaven or the fires of hell. I wish you peace. I wish you well. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, your creed or race. By believing in Jesus, we're all going to the same place. People are talking about struggle, saying life is hard, rough, you got to be tough. But there's nothing harder than standing up to God. Evil is rampant. Even in our nation today, morality is gone. That's why our society says no right or wrong. Fulfill your wants. Go along with the crowd or feel the wrath of that tongue. This country's going to hell in a basket or a casket. And if you speak, you're labeled a fanatic, a Bible quoting, scripture quoting do-gooder, who's living in a fantasy world, waiting for a heaven that never comes. But God's will be done. You can't stop it. You're on the wrong side. Swallow your pride and humble yourself. Ignore the threats of this world. Study the word and let the knowledge of thorough. Because I'm telling you, that house on the hill, you can't take it with you. That caddy with the grill, you can't take it with you. Those stocking dollar bills, you can't take it with you. Only your heart and your thoughts and your attitude will prove your place in heaven or the fires of hell. I wish you peace and I wish you well. This is Minister Brother Derrick, and this is the new theme song for our Sunday sermon in the Bible study. Peace, everybody. Much love to you.
Alrighty, we are back. All right. I was tempted to cheat and look at this, but I got to do what I say I don't do. I told y'all I don't look at these things. I just make sure it's something to read. Turn to God in the midst of problems. God will strengthen and help you. Let's see what this is. And blow this up. Y'all can see it. All right. If you go through difficult times, you might get mad at God or those who caused you problems. Or you may feel sorry for yourself, become depressed, get angry with yourself, become fearful, or wonder if God loves you. These are all normal emotions, but don't stop there. Ask God to help you draw close to Him and to put your trust in Him. Psalm 13 gives us a pattern we can follow. In this short psalm, David describes the agony he is experiencing, asks for God's help, proclaims his trust in God's love, and then praises God. A Psalm of David. How long, O Lord, will you forget me? Forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and every day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look on me and answer, O Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will see death. My enemy will say, I have overcome him. and my foes will rejoice when I fall. But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord, for he has been good to me. Psalm 13. Sometimes it's difficult to follow David's example. For example, if a family member dies or you go through a personal crisis, you may experience deep sorrow or grief. If that happens, don't feel guilty. God understands. After all, godly people in the Bible also experience grief. Read Acts 20:37-38 and 21:13 for two examples. Although it may take time to recover from grief, God will help you as you turn to him. Remember the Bible promises. Remember the Bible promise. God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. Psalms 46:1. Remember that God is with you. Sometimes God protects us from going through potential problems, and sometimes he miraculously delivers us from problems that confront us. But sometimes we must go through difficult times. When we do, God is always there to walk with us. The Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. Psalms 9:9. For you, O God, you see trouble and grief. You consider it to take in hand. The victim commits himself to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Psalms 10:14. Be strong and take heart, all of you who hope in the Lord. Psalms 31:24. For you have been my refuge, a strong tower against the foe. Psalm 61:30. Praise be to the Lord, to God our Savior, who daily bears our burdens. Psalm 68:19. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous hand. Isaiah 41:10. Pray to know God's peace. Regardless of your circumstances, you can experience God's peace. That is because God's peace comes from your relationship with Jesus, not your circumstances. Read Jesus' encouraging words. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Peace I leave with you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. John 14:27. The peace Jesus is talking about is very different from the peace you experience when life is going well. It comes from his Holy Spirit, and it comes from remembering he loves you and is with you regardless of the circumstance. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Romans 15:13. Ask God to intervene. Pray for God's peace, but also pray for God to intervene in a situation. That's what David did many times when he was facing enemies or difficulties. A prayer of David. Hear, O Lord, and answer me, for I am poor and needy. Guard my life, for I am devoted to you. You are my God. Save your servant who trusts in you. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I call to you all day long. Bring joy to your servant. For to you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. You are forgiving and good, O Lord, abounding in love to all who call to you. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Listen to my cry for mercy. In the day of my trouble, I will call to you, for you will answer me. Psalms 86:1-7. I love you, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I call to the Lord, who is worthy of praise, and I am saved from my enemies. The cords of death entangle me. The torrents of destruction overwhelm me. The cords of the grave coiled around me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called to the Lord. I cried to my God for help. From his temple, he heard my voice. My cry came before him into his ears. Psalms 18:1-6. Pray for guidance. Ask God to help you in your situation, but also ask for wisdom about what to say or do. Read Psalm 31, an example of how to do this. In this short prayer, David asked God to rescue him, and he also asked God to guide him. O Lord, I have taken refuge. Let me never be put to shame. Deliver me in your righteousness. Turn your ear to me. Come quickly to my rescue. Be my rock of refuge, strong fortress to save me. Since you are my rock and my fortress, for the sake of your name, lead and guide me. Free me from the trap that is set for me, for you are my refuge. Pray for those who mistreat you. One of the most challenging commands Jesus Christ gave us is to love our enemies and to pray for those who mistreat us. That doesn't mean we should never confront people or take strong actions, but it does mean we should watch our attitude and have genuine concern for everyone, even when we confront them. But I tell you who hear me, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. Luke 6:27-28. Bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse. Romans 12:14. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:21. Meditate on key passages in the Bible. When you go through hard times, turn to God's Word. Look up some of the verses you have been reading in this study. Make your own list of verses you can draw upon when in the midst of difficulty. Many people have found that thinking about God's love helps them go through the most difficult times. Here's a powerful message that can strengthen you by the knowledge of God's love no matter what you are going through. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall trouble or hardship or persecution or famine or nakedness or danger of sword, as it is written, for your sake we face death all day long. We are considered as sheep to be slaughtered. Knowing all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any power, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. Find support from other followers of Jesus. When you go through difficult times, ask fellow believers for prayer and advice. If you ask for advice, be sure to choose mature Christians, one who will give you godly counsel instead of simply taking your side or getting upset on your behalf. As iron sharpens iron, so man sharpens another. Proverbs 21:17. Memory verse. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. John 14:7. All right, anybody have any questions before we move on? Anybody have any questions or comments? All right, so let's move on. All right, this is from Liz.
See, look, y'all, they are happy to bear. Y'all see happy to bear? Y'all see it?
Say it.
Happy to bear.
Take it, say it.
Someone to the side. See, look, y'all. Happy the bear. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. Look at his hand, y'all. See? Look at his slapping. Oop. He's slapping me. Oop. He just passed me. I'm happy the bear just passed me. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. See, y'all see me hugging him? Happy the bear? I'm hugging Happy the bear. Look at this. I mean, I love being funny. Happy's a bear. Happy's a berry. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. The bear. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. See this? So now, so throw him down. I got him up, y'all. Y'all see it? Like that. Start to tell him to move. I'm gonna do it again. Choke him. Like that. So I got him. Happy's a bear. 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 I made y'all look on the playground. On the playground, look at this.
He's in a different room.
See that? So look, see how happy he is? Look at his little ball. Look at his ball round. He's so happy. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear. Happy's a bear.
Now I know some of y'all wonder why we play Kevin Prince. Well, Naya and Liz like him, number one. But number two, look at this young man. He doesn't have much. He probably can't go many places. But yet, he's still able to come to you every day, happy. And he gives you what he has. He might only have some calendars. He might only have a couple stuffed animals. But he's still expressing himself every day. And it should be a nice contrast. All the yelling, the arguing, the threats of violence that we hear from so many YouTube channels. It's nice to hear something different. You know, I hope that I'm different. Yeah, now, that could be the common area. You know, every place has a common area. You see, it looks like it's two sofas there. That could be the common area, like where people come visit them at. But that's why we show Kevin King. It's not to make fun of him, but it's to show you don't have an excuse for all the dumb stuff that come across this YouTube, especially in our sector. Don't you get tired of it? Something different? Everything gotta be so negative, you know?
I was at school. The principal told me that.
All right, y'all can say it. You gotta wait for this to add. Oops. Oh, there ain't no volume. This is called the Wall of Lies Mural Showcase. This is a wall of all of President Trump lies. I wish I had to watch that first. I might not. You know. Might not have played that. But it's called Trump's Wall of Lies. It's in Brooklyn, New York. Every lie he told the American people over the past 4 years. Would have been nice to be able to show some of them. You know, I mean, I ain't telling anybody how to report.
We begin tonight with the citywide crackdown on neighborhoods considered coronavirus cluster zones. More than a dozen summonses have been issued for social distancing violations in those areas. And today, Governor Cuomo said 18% of all positive COVID tests in the state this week have been traced back to parts of the red zone. CBS 2's Corey James is live in Borough Park, Brooklyn with more tonight. Corey.
And Lisa, this is one of those areas that is considered a hot spot, and many of the restaurants out here for a while, they've been able to stay open until midnight. But as you can see, some of them closed shop earlier today after recent rollbacks made by the governor and the mayor.
It was getting better.
But now it is getting worse for Bobby Chin, owner of Park Oasis Oyster Bar in Borough Park. The increase in COVID cases has placed his neighborhood in the red zone, taking away indoor dining for his restaurant that is struggling to stay open during the pandemic.
You don't even have business right now. You're losing about 80-90% of your business.
And tough for Loli Jura, who is also on edge. His Gray's Inn restaurant is not far away from hotspot zip codes.
The red zone is a few blocks away from us. It's very, very scary, so we're just trying to hang on for dear life at the moment.
Portion facilities in Queens and Brooklyn have also been impacted. As the church bells rang outside St. Athanasius in Bensonhurst, some members made their way up the steps to go inside, only to find out the building is closed.
Why do you have to close?
I did not know about that.
Church leaders say they decided to lock the doors after Governor Andrew Cuomo limited indoor capacity to 25% or no more than 10 people to help manage the spread of the virus. The Diocese of Brooklyn sued the state over it, but lost.
Does it hurt? It kills me to know that I can't go into my church and say, dear God, I'm happy I'm here. Please hear what's going on.
A prayer those not in religious spaces.
Why can't you? Why you gotta be at the church to do that? You can do that at home. You can go to a park and do that. You can go in the alley and do that. You think you going into the church makes your prayer more important? To do it from the church? The church ain't God. The church is not God. That's why I have a problem with the Catholic religion. They put too much on church. But I told you why. It was a good way for them to know what was going on in their Roman Empire. By making everybody come to church so they can see what was going on. Get them to do confessions. See if anybody had confessed of a plan of rebellion. You know. The church is a building. It's just a building. People that go in there make the church. And if Jesus or God decide to let that light sit on that church while the people in it, that's something. But the church is just a building.
Are also saying as they brace for what New York City's second coronavirus shutdown will do.
I mean, you try to do the best you can, but it's just tough.
And in the hotspot areas, all non-essential businesses, the restaurants, and house of worships must have limited capacity. Mayor Bill de Blasio said that number is based off of data, facts, and test results. We're live in Borough Park, Brooklyn. Corey James, CBS 2 News.
Thank you, Corey.
Right. Now, those of y'all, once again, who watch me, y'all know that the cases in New York have started spiking up. They were doing 200, 400 cases. Now they back up into the over 1,000. And Cuomo noticed that, and that's why he put the extra safeguards in. And as usual, the people gonna cry about it. But they're not doing what they've been doing. They've been slacking off, and that's why the cases are back up. All right, I hope we don't get flagged for this, but I think that this is something that we need to show. Y'all might have seen this already, you might not have.
Imagine gasping for air with every step you take. Imagine collapsing and waking up in the ER only to find out COVID-19 attacked your nervous system. I believe the virus to be a hoax. I believe the mainstream media and the Democrats were using it to create panic, crash the economy, and destroy Trump's chances at re-election. My partner and I hosted Family Saturday, June 13th. I woke up sick Sunday. My father-in-law's mother got sick.
Yes, plan.
We all tested positive for COVID-19. I'd love to take it back. I'd love to still have him and her here.
More than a dozen of Tony Green's family members contracted COVID-19 after a family gathering this summer. 2 of them have passed away.
I'd like to have the opportunity to go back and save others and take this whole thing much more seriously.
His family's loss is just one story of the more than 200,000 Americans who have lost their lives this year to COVID-19. The president himself has contracted the virus, only a month out from Election Day.
Breaking news that President Trump and the First Lady have tested positive for the coronavirus.
The president tweeting today about leaving Walter Reed, telling the American people, don't be afraid of COVID, don't let it dominate your life. It drew outrage from many who point out this country just today hit 210,000 lives lost.
But even as infections continue to rise, in a world of both facts and misinformation, will the devastation of the pandemic actually have an influence on the election?
What was clear from even very early on in the pandemic was that there were differences in how Democrats and Republicans were seeing the pandemic and responding to it. Republicans were less likely to say that they felt personally threatened by the virus. They were less likely to support policy measures that sort of restricted various parts of our lives in response to the virus. And as things moved on, they were more likely to think that we'd gotten through the worst of it.
You know, as a spectator and a voter, you know, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, who do I want to believe? Well, I've seen how people, you know, from the opposition of President Trump have handled their suspicions or their politics or their beliefs about him in other areas, other subjects for the last 4 years. So, you know, I'm dismissive of that side because it's just been an all-out assault against him from the beginning. So I don't put a lot of credibility in what they say. I mean, this is the reason why so many people like me didn't trust the information that they were getting. We don't trust anybody anymore.
You're not going to be able to know the end of this election, in my opinion, for weeks, months, maybe never.
Don't pay any attention to what the president is saying.
We're in a moment of toxic politics where the only thing that the two sides seem to have in common is that the greatest enemy is the other side. world where if you're a liberal or a Democrat, you get one set of facts and one set of views, and if you're a Republican or a conservative, you get a very different set of facts and views. And in order to confront a pandemic, we really need a shared reality.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. Michigan is closed. All of these states that are closed, North Carolina is closed. These states that are closed are run by Democrats. And the reason they're closed is because we have an election on November 3rd.
The American people are looking for responsible leadership on COVID. They've shared sacrifice, missing weddings, funerals, family events, etc. They should expect the same responsibility coming from their president or presidential candidate.
Disasters are local, they're also political. And not just from the vantage point of how things can be politicized, but also just understanding that there has to take political will and investment to secure the actual funding and infrastructure and sustainability practices that will allow us to ride out a disaster, whether that's a hurricane or a pandemic. If you actually looked at the map of where the hotspots were, or the largest incidences of COVID and the highest fatality rates across the nation, what you tend to find is they weren't resisting the stay-at-home orders quite as much as the counties or even the states that were not as severely impacted. And the sentiment essentially became, it's not happening to us, why are we being punished? And I think that's where the splintering really became worse.
When you're, polling people that are within your social media network, it seemed to me that no one had any of this, virus or symptoms or anything. I mean, a few people had caught the flu, but, the flu is flu. People get it every year. So when it came to this coronavirus, I'm thinking, okay, nobody has this. Nobody that I know has this. Is this somehow kind of made up, or is it a hyped up flu? My impression of the virus is it was politicized very early on by both parties.
It's my belief that the city of Atlanta still has the appropriate standing to mandate masks.
We shouldn't need a mask mandate for people to do the right thing.
I think it's a political hoax, and I am against the masks.
I just didn't see that it was reaching the magnitude of what everybody was suspecting it was going to be.
There's no way for us to process any political information in a joint way, because there's always a sense that our side has to win and the other side has to lose, that our side has to be right and the other side is wrong. Unless there's 100% shared agreement on the reality, which there is clearly not, anything is going to become a partisan issue.
I voted in every presidential election for the Republican candidate since 1976, including, reluctantly, Donald Trump. Big mistake. One of the worst mistakes in my life. And when the pandemic hit, I'm watching this and watching him abdicate his responsibilities, and I'm like, I cannot be part of this Republican Party anymore. People are dying.
I don't want to go so far as to say it's the president's fault.
Many doctors think it is extremely successful, the hydroxychloroquine. I happen to think it works in the early stages. I think frontline medical people believe that too, many.
I look at the president and I say, there's a man that, really wants the best for his country. Yeah, I don't have a doubt for that. Did he handle the coronavirus in a way that reflected in good leadership? In this instance, I would say his intentions didn't match his actions.
Even after the president contracted the virus, Tony's still supporting President Trump.
I worry about Joe Biden being in office, and I want a competent leader. I want an effective leader. And we know what we get out of Trump.
This is an individual
who is not concerned about the health, safety, and well-being of the American people.
What we're voting for at this point is an entire system that needs to be able to prepare to give us the things that we will need in these times of strain. And I think from my vantage point, what I'm hoping is that by the time we get to the end of this year, we're going to be moving towards a COVID-19 recovery. We are still very much in the middle of a response. We need to be voting with a mindset of understanding all of the dynamics that are going to be critical for us to recover from this catastrophic event, and understanding that that is going to take collective solutions. No one president, no one mayor, no one councilman can do this by themselves.
Tony is still wrestling with the loss of his family members. He hopes others realize the severity of the pandemic.
It's emotional. My concern is that people are still either denying or downplaying the virus, thinking that somehow it really is about the election. And for some it may be. But, people's lives are at stake, including your own. I think that our country is on life support. And right or wrong, left or right, Republican or Democrat, we're all Americans. Take it seriously. It may cost you your life if you don't. It may cost someone else their life if you don't. And you may care about that person very much.
Alrighty. Thank you, ABC News. And please do not flag us for this. This is from ABC News. Please don't flag us for this. I'll have to take it out. I think that everybody needs to. So for that reason, please do not flag us for showing this video. I come on here and say it all the time, but y'all don't listen to me. Maybe when you hear other people, maybe you'll listen. Maybe this won't happen to you.
Black and brown community there at that rally on the south lawn of the White House, and the president, perhaps a little bit of a departure from the language he has been using, that the virus would just simply go away. In this case, we heard him say that science and medicine will help eradicate the virus. Bottom line, still unclear whether the president is what his latest numbers are, whether he has been tested, and whether he has tested negative after 9 days since diagnosis for COVID-19. And now this is his first public event, inviting people to come to the White House. From the images of the people standing in line earlier, very few wearing masks and in close proximity to one another, all defying guidelines by the scientific and medical community on how to protect yourself in this pandemic. Let's talk further about all of this and remarkable scene here on the South Lawn. I'm joined by a team of correspondents and experts, CNN White House correspondent Jeremy Diamond, CNN's chief political analyst Gloria Borger, Carl Bernstein, CNN political analyst, journalist, and author, Dr. Richie Sett, medical director at Baylor St. Luke's Air Campus Emergency Department, and an assistant medical director at Ben Taub Hospital Emergency Center, and Dr. Jeremy Faust, emergency physician at Brigham Women's Hospital. Good to see all of you. Jeremy, let me begin with you, and perhaps you can help paint a better picture of who is there and why the president felt like he did this. Clearly there are signs from many who are analyzing him that this is an erratic president who is just starving for attention right now and feeling like the underdog, and would invite people to the White House to make him feel better.
I mean, listen, when the president was in the hospital last weekend, he was agitating to get out of there and get back to the White House. Once he made it back to the White House residence, he was agitating to get out of the White House residence and into the Oval Office, which he then subsequently did, even as he put several other White House aides at risk of potentially catching that virus. Now we see the president is running back to the campaign trail, essentially. The White House is calling this an official White House event, but you heard very clearly from the president in the very top of his remarks, talks about voting Democrats into oblivion, and now he's talking about, clearly a political message, calling this a peaceful protest, which is the exact same thing that the president says when he is holding campaign rallies across the country. So there's no question that the president has been agitating to get back on the campaign trail to, he is currently losing this race for re-election, and the president knows that as much campaigning as he can do to try and change that message. Now, in terms of who is actually there, we know that there are several hundred people on the White House South Lawn. As you can see, there is almost no social distancing whatsoever. I did check in with the pool producer who is representing the 5 TV networks in there. Told me that most people are indeed wearing masks, so that is something that has perhaps changed slightly from previous events that we have seen at the White House. But no question, these people have not been tested. They've only gotten temperature checks and a questionnaire asking them whether they've had symptoms recently or not, which we know is no stopping people with asymptomatic from transmitting this virus asymptomatically. But there are at least most people wearing masks, it seems here. Now, most of these people are coming here from this Blexit group, which is a conservative group founded by Candace Owens, the black conservative activist. And this group is essentially aimed at getting African Americans who vote overwhelmingly Democratic to begin voting for the Republican Party, and specifically, of course, for President Trump. So the president, as he is delivering this law and order message, he is addressing this group, but of course we know that so much of this is about establishing that permission structure for white voters, to convince white voters that this president is not racist, as he of course contends, despite what Democrats have said. And so obviously much of this message is aimed not just at the people who are in this audience, but at a broader white audience across the country, specifically in the suburbs, which the president needs in order to win this race for re-election.
And then, Gloria, notable, the president, essentially giving a shout out, to the black community, Hispanic community, as he's looking out at the audience. And, when you think about this pandemic, people of color are dying and are impacted disproportionately. And yet the president, repeatedly insists that he's done more for the black community than just about any other president. I mean, there are so many messages here and contrasts.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And there's another message here, which we're in the process of normalizing campaign events at the People's House, at the White House. We had a convention there, and the president's handlers went out of their way this morning to say, oh, no, this is just an event. It's not a campaign event. And yet the president comes out saying, vote these people into oblivion. What does that mean? That's a campaign event. So the question is, the Hatch Act and all the other things that they're not paying any attention to in order to get the president out there. And I want to repeat again, not only has this pandemic, as you point out, Fred, affected minorities, but the president hasn't told us that he's negative yet. Mm-hmm. And these people, if they don't catch COVID from him, could be giving it to each other. So you had the president standing up there on the balcony telling a lie, saying that COVID is disappearing. It is not disappearing, as we all know. We know it's on the rise in many states. We know it is not going away, and yet the President of the United States wants to be a superhero, says, and I'm exempt.
So, Carl, I mean, the President has been some extraordinary messages throughout, and clearly you can see his frustration that he hasn't been able to be on the campaign trail, and he's trying to make some modifications, and he's sending a lot of messages in so doing. Take a listen from the president.
Type 2 diabetes is...
All right, I'm sitting there now. Let's skip this. Now. Go on to the next video.
This evening with a very dangerous situation here. They say a man was holed up inside of a home with a gun, and before it was all over, there were shots fired and an actual fire. All right, this all happened just off US 41 on Nebraska Lane, just south of Van Ness Road in the town of Hernando, which is in Citrus County. 8 on your side's Justin Checker explains how this whole thing played out.
Ron, good evening. After a tense few hours here in Citrus County, 8 on your side has learned from the sheriff that one person is dead. This started around 4 o'clock as a SWAT standoff. You can see the armored vehicle still on scene here, but it later turned into a firefight after the suspect set the home on fire.
Because of the situation we were facing here, we wanted another armored vehicle on scene to help us out.
Citrus County Sheriff Mike Prendergast says he called in backup from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office as his deputies responded to shots fired and an armed man barricaded in a home near Highway 41.
We had our Bearcat, our armored vehicle, in front of the suspect's home where he immediately started shooting at us.
The sheriff says Sumter SWAT members worked with one of his deputies to rescue 4 victims in harm's way of the shooter.
As we talked to the victims, we learned that there was one person on the ground that was probably deceased.
Deputies continued trying to negotiate with the man until they say he set his home on fire before he eventually came outside, dropped his gun, and surrendered.
For a very long time, it was touch and go, and he was apparently either going to commit suicide or trying to encourage us to shoot him.
The sheriff tells 8 on your side, fortunately, no other innocent victims in the neighborhood were hit by gunfire.
Clearly, the suspect did have some issues, and unfortunately, he did take someone's life today. And, at the end of the day, what we're most proud of is the fact that all of our deputies followed their training. All of our deputies are going home to their family members.
And the sheriff's office has yet to identify the suspect. We should learn his identity and the charges he'll face in the coming days. Reporting in Citrus County, I'm Justin Shecker, 8 on your side.
Keep it going.
This week in Venice Beach, just steps from the boardwalk and nearby homes. Encampment fires like this one are not unusual. In fact, they happen more than once a day in Venice, one of LA's top tourist destinations. The I-Team's Joel Grover investigates now what's behind these encampment fires and the threat they pose to everyone.
Firefighters extinguish a homeless tent fire at 9 in the morning right on the world-famous Venice boardwalk, teeming with tourists. That same night, just blocks away, another homeless encampment goes up in flames in a residential neighborhood. Every week in Venice lately, there are encampment fires. It's crazy. Alan Parsons is a tech engineer who lives near a Venice encampment, complete with its own generators.
All these nearby homes, right? Are they putting these nearby homes in danger with embers? Are the propane tanks that are going to explode?
And the unhoused residents of Venice also feel in danger.
They have all these nearby homes, right? Are they putting these nearby homes in danger with embers? Are the propane tanks that are going to explode?
And the unhoused residents of Venice also feel in danger.
Every day there's fires, guns, knives.
Jack Rivers says he's lived in his own tent on the Venice boardwalk for 5 months. He tells us most of these fires are arson, the work of other homeless residents. When a tent goes up in flames, what's the cause?
Usually a misunderstanding over money or drugs.
The I-Team obtained City of LA data showing the number of fires connected to the homeless this year is up nearly 82% over last year, an increase of more than 1,900 fires this year. To make matters worse, residents say they've noticed the police presence on Venice Beach has recently gone down. One neighbor gave the I-Team this cell phone video of beach police seeming to confirm that.
They just officially cut our unit in half, and then they told us not to even mess with them.
On the video, you can hear the cops say they've been told recently by politicians to leave the homeless alone.
What we used to do, we couldn't do anymore, based on political situations.
In contrast to what those officers on the ground say,
hello, and it's the BROTHA Show. Hello? You gotta turn your TV down. Turn your TV down. Hello. Okay. All right. Let's get back to our story. Still there? Yes, it is. Let's go ahead.
LAPD's official statement to the I-Team says the department continues to lead with services and follow up with enforcement as a last resort. Since the pandemic began, the sheer size of tent dwellings has grown, in part because the city has stopped removing what are called bulky items, such as sofas and mattresses, that can cause bigger, more dangerous fires. What do you want the city to do to prevent more of these fires?
If the city is not going to remove bulky items, they need to be out here inspecting these encampments to ensure that they are safe for these people to live in.
The people that live here on the boardwalk say there are tent fires every day somewhere in Venice, far more than are reported to the city. For the I-Team, I'm Joel Grover.
If y'all gonna call in, y'all gotta remember to turn down. I gotta remember to turn down whatever device you listening to the show on. That's where he was, right there. All right, y'all. This is serious right here.
A violent attack in the Bronx is caught on camera. Police say a man was sitting in his car when someone came up and shot him through the window. CBS 2's Nick Calloway has more.
Don't sit in your car.
Surveillance video shows the gunman sneaking up in the dark, aiming and firing at least half a dozen shots into the driver's side window of a parked car. Then the shooter runs. A 26-year-old man was sitting in that parked car and was shot multiple times.
It's scary. It's very scary. You know, I'm glad I didn't hear it because things like that I stay away from.
It happened just before 6 a.m. Friday on East 173rd Street near Manor Avenue. The dramatic video was jarring for longtime residents of the Soundview section of the Bronx.
You know, that's a sad situation for somebody to get shot like that.
It's all over, man. It's rough. Crime has spiked sharply since the pandemic, making 2020 a particularly violent year in New York.
It's scary because with everything that's going on between, you know, wearing a mask and all this stuff, it's shooting all over. It's terrible.
For some residents of the nearby Bronx River Houses apartments, the video serving as a sobering reminder. Many here don't feel safe.
No, I don't feel safe at all. Due to the crime and stuff like that, you fear for your life. You don't know what's going to happen.
That victim who was shot while sitting in his car got perhaps a little lucky. He did suffer multiple gunshot wounds, but only to his arm. He was taken by ambulance to Jacoby Medical Center, where cops say he was stable. Meanwhile, the motive of that attack is not yet known, and police are still trying to find the shooter. In the Soundview section of the Bronx, Nick Calloway, CBS 2 News.
Y'all know that if he knows who that is, that person gonna be on the news next week. Y'all know that, right? He ain't gonna tell the police nothing. He just gonna go handle it himself. All right.
Yo, what's up, family? If it's your first time checking out the show, let me know what city, what state.
Let me so y'all can see it. I told you to pause. All right, y'all. He in his car today, so I guess I gotta do the sound manually. Bum, 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 bum. Hey.
The like smash up the likes. Also, after you subscribe, if you have not done so already, there's a little bell next to your subscribe button. Go ahead and click that thing right now so you can get your notifications each time I drop a new video like this. That way you'll be in the loop. We are going live, fam. I got some real cool things that's coming up on my live, on this channel and on the backup channel, Certified TV. If you have not subscribed to Certified TV, you may want to go ahead and do that right now. You don't want to miss some of the content I'm going to be bringing on that channel. We're just heating up on the channel. It's getting better and better. The channel is growing. So, and I tend to keep it that way. I intend on
Come on, man.
That way. So if you have not, if you appreciate the content, all kind of ways that you can support the channel. So that is at this.
Yeah, I don't do y'all like that.
Because one of his priests wanted to get freaky. He couldn't wait to go home and do it. He did not feel the urge to get a motel or a hotel room. He didn't even try to do it in the car. The dude got in front of the altar. He got on the altar.
You got too much money to be using that cheap phone.
With two women. He was having sex.
Come on, man.
Two women. Not one woman. Two women. How do we know he was having sex? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, some guy supposedly was just happened to be passing by. He peeped through the window and he saw it and he started filming. So, in order for him to do that, you know he had to be peeping, right? So he's a peeping Tom. This guy is just, snooping around, looking. Oh my God! The priest is in an unusual state of undress. And he's having a threesome. Now, first thing that came to my mind, well, at least he wasn't messing with them little boys. Because they love them little boys. Priests, man. They love little boys. So at least this time it was some grown women. I'm wondering why they were coerced. Because he is a priest, like sometimes, some people be so gone with these priests. They look at them like they gods or something, and the priest can tell them anything. Drop down and give me a blow, or else you ain't gonna go to heaven. Yeah. In fact, you better bring a friend with you, or God's going to curse you.
All right, y'all. Who we keep looking at?
So
I feel like I'm watching a popular song in the car. All right, man. We heard enough. Who's he looking at, y'all? He keep looking out the window. All right, minute. Who's he looking at? Who are you looking for? He scared? Is somebody gonna roll up on you? That's just annoying.
Protesters in support of Armenia stopped traffic on the Brooklyn Bridge tonight. Armenian Americans took to the streets and there was a long line of vehicles and people waving flags. The protesters want to call attention to Armenians being killed in the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Hundreds of people have been killed, including civilians.
So why not get on a boat and go over there and help them? You out there stopping Derrick vote. If you're concerned about the people in Armenia being involved in a war with somebody else, get yourself some guns and get on the plane, get on the boat, and go over there and help them. But now, see, that requires effort. Instead, we're gonna make some signs up, and we're gonna go and stand and block the bridge so people can't get across the bridge. That's what we're gonna do. Really? Oh, he was talking about a priest got caught in a threesome at the church. Somebody heard some moaning, and I guess the priest was too stupid to close the windows, and he was able to film the priest having sex with 2 women. That's what he was talking about. But he's sitting in that car. The phone sounds terrible. He looking out the window every second like somebody gonna come in there and rob him or something. I just got tired of watching it. And y'all can watch it on your own. It's Willie D. Y'all can go to the channel and watch
Caught
it.
on camera, a spectacular crash in Laurelton, Queens. Video shows a car flying through a intersection and slamming into several vehicles on Merritt Boulevard and Hook Creek Boulevard around 3 this afternoon. You can see a woman who barely escaped getting hit. 5 people were hurt. She should have went down and got some money. What caused the driver to lose control of the car?
I done went down. Oh, I was stuck between 2 cars. Oh, Jesus. Somebody get me a lawyer. Get me a lawyer. Sue. Then you don't even get money for your car to get fixed. Alright, y'all. We showed y'all this video yesterday or the day before, but it was from the outside. Look at what happened on the inside. This was the outside of the bodega we saw. This happened on the inside. Look at what happened to Aftermath.
Attack in East Harlem, a teenager lucky to be alive tonight thanks to the brave and quick thinking of some New York cops. They rushed to save the young man's life after he was hacked several times by a large knife. Eyewitness reporter Josh Einiger live at the 2-3 precinct in East Harlem with the latest. Josh.
Mobile cops carry a lot of stuff on their belts. They've got a gun, they've got a taser, they've got handcuffs, but there's something else NYPD officers started carrying about 2 years ago that over this past weekend very well could have saved a teenager's life. The video obtained exclusive Eyewitness News starts with a horrific attack. You see a 19-year-old running for his life away from 2 men, one of whom brandishing what looks like a machete. And when the victim stumbled, his attackers pounced, whacking away once, twice, 3 times before the teen escaped into a bodega. Inside, shock and blood as onlookers called 911. A few minutes later, the first officers raced up. One, already wearing gloves, immediately tended to the victim, who was gushing blood from both arms. There wasn't much time. The cops took out tourniquets and applied them to each arm, then walked him out of the store and drove him to the hospital. Every NYPD patrol officer carries a belt-worn trauma kit loaded with life-saving equipment issued to troops on the battlefield in Iraq and Afghanistan. It includes pressure dressings and these tourniquets. Today, those officers from the 2-3 precinct got a very public Twitter shout-out from Police Commissioner Dermot Shea, lauding the rescue and the quick arrest of one of the suspects. Outstanding work, he tweeted. Work that very well may have saved a teen's life when seconds counted. Also in that video, you can see the bodega owner very quickly lock the door, keeping the suspects from following the victim in. They did try to do that, and we'll never know what would have happened if they'd made it into the store. As for the suspects, one of them, also a 19-year-old, is in custody. Cops are still searching for the other one. The victim, police say, very lucky he will recover.
That ain't the same story. Damn, they had 2 of them. That's crazy right there. Well, y'all know that the Trinitarios, that they use machetes. They don't carry guns. They use machetes. And they'll hack you up. Better be careful. Especially in New York and New Jersey, they will hack you up. Oh, that was it. All right, let me see if y'all can see it.
From the president's physician, Dr. Sean Conley, about the president's health. I want to bring in our White House correspondent, Jeremy Diamond. So it's a short little statement I see, but what's in this new memo?
Well, the news, Wolf, from the president's position is that he is essentially clearing President Trump to return to public activity, saying that the president did a coronavirus test this morning, one of those molecular PCR tests, which are considered the most accurate types of tests, and that it says that the PCR sample demonstrates by currently recognized standards he is no longer considered a transmission risk to others. The Dr. Sean Conley goes on to say now at day 10 from symptom onset, fever-free for well over 24 hours, and all symptoms improved. The assortment of advanced diagnostic tests obtained revealed there is no longer evidence of actively replicating virus. And he goes on to say that moving forward, he's going to continue to monitor the president clinically as he returns to an active schedule. So obviously, Wolf, this is the news that the president had been waiting for, the news that the White House had previewed for us, saying that they would let us know once Dr. Sean Conley had cleared the president to return to public activity and once he had gotten a negative coronavirus test. Of course, Joe Biden has also been calling for the president to release that information once it comes in. And so now here it is, Wolf. Of course, this is notable because President Trump is expected to resume his campaign schedule this coming week. He has 3 rallies scheduled Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And this is essentially what the president had been waiting for in order to have the full confidence of the doctor to say that he is able to go out there and resume a schedule where he is interacting with other people. Of course, I'll let the doctors weigh in on the details of this, Wolf. But based on what Dr. Conley is saying here, the president is no longer a risk of transmission to other people as it relates to coronavirus.
Well, that's very important and very encouraging. Let's bring in Dr. David Shulkin, the former Secretary of Veterans Affairs under President Trump. So what's your reaction, Dr. Shulkin? A brief statement from the president's physician, Sean Conley.
Well, it's very good that we're finally getting some information. It's just not clear to me why they haven't been transparent with this all along. We still should know when the president tested negative. Was there a test just yesterday that had been positive? Did this just turn negative? So it would be a good idea, I believe, for the White House and for Dr. Conley to be as transparent as possible about what all these test results mean so that the American public can understand what we're dealing with.
Let me read another sentence from the statement from the doctor. It says this: now at day 10 from symptom onset, fever-free for well over 24 hours and all symptoms improved. The assortment of advanced diagnostic tests obtained revealed there is no longer evidence of actively replicating virus. So translate that.
Well, what that means is that he hasn't had symptoms for 24 hours. Our general recommendations are to be symptom-free for 72 hours off all symptom-mediating medications like Tylenol, aspirin, or Motrin. So while technically PCR test shows that he doesn't have active virus, 72 hours is a safe recommendation. The president has been symptom-free for 24 hours.
So the bottom line is there are still questions that need to be answered, but it's encouraging that at least this statement coming out on a Saturday night.
It is. All along I think that they should have been transparent about what these lab tests were showing, and it's finally good news that at least they're releasing this one test. I believe that they should be able to release the results of the prior tests that have happened as well.
What's up, Rob Raff here, and if you're like me, you got an action.
Look, man. Don't remind y'all of John Travolta, he got the cleft in his chin.
You've been listening to President Trump holding what was clearly an election rally at the White House. The crowd wearing matching T-shirts and red Trump hats chanted 4 more years as well as "We love you" as Mr. Trump continued to undermine public confidence in the upcoming election and falsely claimed that his election challenger, Democrat Joe Biden, is a socialist. The president telling his supporters to, quote, vote them into oblivion. For more on all of this, I want to bring in Philip Bump and Marquise Francis. Philip is a national correspondent for the Washington Post, and Marquise is a national reporter for Yahoo News. Gentlemen, good to have both of you with us today. Philip, I'm going to start with you. This event certainly looked like a campaign event held at the White House. Is this a problem? Other presidents wouldn't dream of doing such a thing, but President Trump and his supporters don't seem like they care about those rules anymore.
No, I think that is an understatement. I mean, we've seen for basically since Donald Trump took office that they're largely indifferent to what's called the Hatch Act, which prohibits the use of official resources for campaigning. We've had lots of members of the Trump administration be cited for having violated the Hatch Act. The administration has continually shrugged at it. We saw, of course, the convention last month in which President Trump used the White House as a backdrop for his acceptance speech. He used a naturalization ceremony. He used a pardoning, all as ways to use his office as a way of bolstering his campaign. You know, this is another example, I think, of the myriad ways in which Donald Trump simply breaks the rules, and over time, people stop getting agitated about it because he breaks the rules all the time. I think this is another example of that happening.
I appreciate what you're saying, Philip. I'm wondering if we should just pause then and talk about why the Hatch Act exists. Why is it a problem to have a sitting president running for re-election using the tools of his presidency to try and advocate for him staying in power?
Well, I think sort of theoretically the idea is that the presidency isn't Donald Trump's. He is out of office on January 20th unless he wins re-election, right? This isn't as though it's his presidency that he gets to carry as long as he wants to. The people gave it to him for 4 years. And so essentially he is using taxpayer money to bolster his campaign. He's using the money that we pay in our taxes, which goes to staffing the White House, which goes to paying the salaries of the people that work at the White House, that goes to all of the various parts of government. He is leveraging that money to aid his campaign. So in both the theoretical sense of him using something that isn't really his, but also in the practical sense of his using taxpayer money to boost his campaign, both of those are why the Hatch Act exists. However, the Hatch Act doesn't really have a mechanism for holding people to account beyond the shame that might be felt by a politician who violates the Hatch Act, which is apparently in short supply.
All right, Marquise, this event was held with Candace Owens and her group Lexit. What can you tell our viewers about the group and why the president decided to hold this event with her?
Yeah, well, if you're unfamiliar with Candace Owens, she is a very prominent conservative, a black woman who has been very out front in support of President Trump since he was inaugurated in 2016. But she's also been very out front and outright when it comes to black issues. As a black woman, she's been able to spin a lot of things that most of the black community may not agree with. But as a black woman, she's been able to get out in front and support folks like Daniel Cameron, the Kentucky Attorney General down, where the Breonna Taylor situation happened in Louisville. And this group is made up of people of like minds. And even though this was billed as an official White House event, that does bring into question the accountability, as Philip pointed to, because this was coordinated by this Candace Owens Lexit group. And it's full of conservative advocates and supporters who are there to shout, once again, 4 more years for the president and just to push the name of Joe Biden to the ground.
Marquise, we heard the president touting the black and Hispanic unemployment rates that he was celebrating. Obviously, we know that those unemployment rates aren't so good anymore. And the president again repeated his claim that he has done more for the black community than any president since Abraham Lincoln. How does that kind of self-praise play with black voters?
Yeah, so I mean, when I continue to hear the president speak, about that, he says, I've done more than any president since Lincoln for the black community. I had to go back and actually look at the unemployment rate for black America. And the numbers actually do support what he is saying, but you cannot take them just at face value. We have to understand the economy in which the president actually took in. President Obama and VP Joe Biden inherited a pretty bad economy from Bush, and they actually turned things around and got things going down. So when Trump inherited that, it's almost like getting a car while it's already going and jumping in the driver's seat and continuing to drive it. So I think you can no longer take numbers just at face value. There's always going to be nuances and reasons for it. But just to your second part of the question, Black America, when Trump says he's done more for Black America, it's almost like a laughing matter, I would say, for most. I saw this video on The Cut this week where they said, what would it take for you to vote for President Trump? And it was literally a minute and a half of people just laughing. Because for most of Black America, they do not see themselves in the White House. When you think about top prominent Black people within the White House, the only thing that comes to mind is Ben Carson. And he doesn't, once again, represent Black America. You think of Omarosa, who was pretty much shoved out of the White House. And, you know, my follow-up to that question is, what have you done for Black America? He briefly touched upon the Platinum Plan for the Black community, which is apparently a $500 billion plan to invest in the Black community. And he even noted that Black people in Black America have been consistently shut out of investing in properties and ownership. So once again, it goes back to his famous phrase of "Make America Great Again." When was it great for Black America? As a young Black man myself, when I look at the White House, I'm seeing a lot of white faces. You know, Donald Trump, the vice president. Where do I see myself? You know, when President Obama assaulted to the top person in this country, I, for the first time, saw myself in the White House and the possibilities that were possible on that stage. And for the President Trump to continue to tout that he's done more for Black America than any president, it just doesn't hold any weight.
Yeah, we heard Democratic vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris making the point that of the lifetime appointment for federal judges, 50 that President Trump had made, that not a single one of them was African American. All right, Philip, let's talk about the overall messaging of this event, the president's law and order messaging, and why he may have chosen to talk about this today. What have you learned?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a great question. It hasn't been messaging that's working for him. I think he really still thinks that there are going to be people who he can instill enough fear in them that they'll go out and vote for him. But one of the things we didn't hear today, which I think is incredibly significant, both because of how important it is in the country and how important it is in this moment for Trump, is we didn't hear much about the pandemic. And it's fascinating to hear Donald Trump talk about law and order and how we need safety and how we have, how we need to be worried about communists, which of course there are no communists in the Democratic Party. There may be some Democratic socialists. There are no communists, which is a totally different thing. But he did not talk about the pandemic. And the CDC, if you look at CDC numbers, Black Americans are 2.6 times as likely to have contracted the coronavirus as are white people. They're 4.7 times as likely to have been hospitalized with coronavirus, and they're twice as likely to die from the virus. That is a much bigger threat to Black America than is law and order in the context in which Donald Trump talks about. I mean, this is a very real thing which is permeating the United States at this point in time. Obviously, Donald Trump doesn't want to talk about it. It doesn't help him politically. He thinks law and order does, so that's what he decides to focus on.
Is that, you say that hasn't been a winning strategy for the president, but has it cut into Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's message, particularly with white voters, educated voters, and suburban voters who we know the Democrats are trying to target?
No. Yeah, we've seen poll after poll after poll. Donald Trump has been on this message essentially since the George Floyd protests began at the end of May. Donald Trump has tried to pivot from that, from the focus on Black Lives Matter, from the focus on systemic racism within law enforcement. He's trying to pivot to this idea of this threat of the you heard him say in the speech that liberals are burning down cities and so on and so forth. He's tried repeatedly to do that, and polling continues to show Joe Biden is seen as preferable on issues of law enforcement by most Americans, that it isn't, he's gaining no traction. And in fact, his poll numbers are worse now than they were a month ago relative to Joe Biden. It's just not working. But he likes to talk about it. I think he feels like it makes him feel tough. And I think he feels like maybe it's still his best shot somehow. It's been 3 or 4 months. It hasn't gained any traction, and I'm not sure why he's still doing it.
All right, Marquise, you heard Philip talk about the coronavirus. As far as we know, the president still has COVID-19. And yet the president says he's holding a campaign rally in Florida on Monday. Looking forward to that, do you expect that he will talk more about COVID? Do you think that he will talk more about any of the other issues? Or do you think he'll continue on this same thread, much of what we've heard today?
I think the obvious answer is things are going to continue as they've been going. Philip started this off by saying there are almost no rules when it comes to President Trump, and we're continuing to see that happen. As you mentioned, to date, we still have not had a negative test for the president, and we're seeing other leaders around the country not actually even get tested. Lindsey Graham in South Carolina had a debate this week, and it was canceled because his opponent, Jamie Harrison, said, "I'm willing to debate you. It needs to be in person, not virtually, but you need to take a test, and it needs to be negative." Lindsey Graham has denied wanting to take that. That debate never happened. So coming up to Florida with this campaign event coming up, we saw the president today, he called it the Chinese virus, something that he has said from the beginning, not trying to take blame for anything that has happened in this country. He continues to talk about a vaccine that will come out very, very soon. We're less than 4 weeks away from the general election. There still is no vaccine. All doctors, experts continue to say it's very, very unlikely, not only because it takes so long to produce this vaccine, but it's also a 2-dosage vaccine, which means someone has to take it once and then a few weeks later take a second dosage for it to possibly be effective. And poll numbers continue to show Americans really do not trust the vaccine that they believe is forced and pushed out in a fast-paced fashion. So coming up on this campaign in Florida, once again, even going back to the first question about Black America, if Donald Trump really believes he's positive and good for the Black community, knowing those disproportionate numbers affecting the Black community, you would think he would be more safe, wear a mask, tell people, get tested. But instead, we don't even know his status himself. He continues to go around. We saw hundreds of people packed on the White House lawn, most wearing masks, but still, we saw the super spreader event a few weeks ago. We see how many leaders across the country are now getting sick. It really just makes no sense, and I feel as though this Florida event looks like a recipe for disaster.
Philip, I want to bring you into this conversation. You had mentioned before that the polls show Joe Biden doing better on law and order, and in fact, most of the polls say that Biden is doing better in most of those battleground states, and certainly in the national polls. But the polls didn't look so good for Trump the last time he ran for president, and yet here he is in the Oval Office. So is it possible that Democrats are too confident at this point?
I mean, if there's one thing you can always say, the Democrats might be too confident. It certainly is the case that Donald Trump could still win the election. But there are a couple of things that are very different from 2016. The first is that, to your point, Joe Biden has big leads in battleground states to the extent that if you apply the exact same errors that occurred in those battleground states in 2016 to how Biden is ahead now, Biden still wins those states. His leads are now currently bigger than the error that existed in 2016. Right now, if you apply those errors in 2016 to the existing polls right now, Joe Biden wins by more than 100 electoral votes. Not only that, but on the national picture, he's doing much better relative to Trump than was Hillary Clinton at this point. And his lead has been much, much, much more stable. Hillary Clinton's went up and down and up and down, and it was sort of a sine wave where she would get pulled away from Donald Trump and then she'd be very close to him. We haven't seen that with Biden. Biden's been consistently much better positioned in the polls nationally than Donald Trump. His floor, the lowest point of his support, has always been at least 5 points higher than Donald Trump's ceiling. That wasn't the case in 2016. There were times when Donald Trump actually took the lead over Hillary Clinton. So there are all these indicators that, yes, absolutely, things could change. But the key thing to remember about 2020 is so far things haven't changed. Essentially, since Donald Trump took office, Democrats have hated him and Republicans have loved him and independents have been skeptical of him. That's the pattern we see now in 2020 as well. And it's a recipe right now as it stands, barring some massive shakeup in this campaign, which this being 2020 could certainly happen. Barring that, though, Donald Trump's got a really, really tough path ahead.
Yeah, but the other thing, Philip, is that we know that overwhelmingly Democrats are disproportionately voting via absentee ballots, and that Republicans say that they intend to vote in person. So it's quite possible that on election night, it may look like Donald Trump has won re-election before all those absentee ballots are counted. What do you anticipate? Because we heard the president again today cast doubt on election security, cast doubt on our ability to believe the results as long as he isn't winning the presidency. What do you think will happen on election night if, in fact, the in-person voting seems to indicate that he is doing better than he actually is, and he doesn't end up winning the votes necessary, even though it looks like initially maybe he is?
So Donald Trump has a two-part strategy for winning despite losing, and that is this. Have people feel comfortable going out to polling places and intimidate voters out of actually voting on election day. Then using the election day results to claim that those are the real results by leveraging this, for months he's been saying that mail-in ballots are prone to fraud. It's a lie. They aren't. There is very, very little fraud that actually occurs. There are certainly mistakes and errors and problems, but there isn't really fraud, particularly on a systemic level, particularly nationally. So So he's going to argue, though, after the votes are in on election day, oh, we can't count any of those other ballots because they're all fraudulent, which is nonsense. This is why we keep hearing this refrain from the media and from other leaders. Election night is not the end of the campaign. We have to wait for these ballots to be counted. And one of the things we're seeing is there's actually polling that suggests that Americans understand that message. That Americans have actually incorporated the idea that we're not going to know necessarily on election night who won this thing, that we're going to have to wait for several days to actually find out. That, I think, is good. Absolutely, Donald Trump's going to do everything in his power to tell Americans something different.
All right, I had enough. All right, so y'all are updated at how the presidency going. All right, let's take a look at our CV numbers. In this 453, the market opened at 6. Let's check our CV numbers. All right, 7,945,505. We almost there, y'all. We almost there. Look like 3 more days. And we're going to break 8 million. Deaths, 219,282. And we're going to break 220,000 in a couple days. Let's see how we looking here. Normally, Sunday's a good day. So let's get this last good day here. No stats from Florida. I see that. Anyway, California, 3,114 new cases. They lost 66 people. Texas, 3,324 new cases. They lost 63. New York. See, this is why the governor put them new changes in. Look how they jumping up. New York, 1,425 new cases. They lost 6. Georgia, 1,237, they lost 45. Illinois, 2,905, whoa, they lost 30. North Carolina, 2,321, they lost 18. Arizona, 894, they lost 13. New Jersey, 754, they lost 7. Tennessee, Tennessee, I told y'all Tennessee was going to take out New Jersey. I told you. Look at them. Look how close it is. 9 from 7. 9 from 7 is 16, so that's 6. 4 from 8 is 46. Tennessee is behind New Jersey by 46 cases. Tomorrow, Tennessee is going to be in the number 9 spot. Tomorrow, Tennessee is going to take out New Jersey. Unless people do a whole bunch of freaking in New Jersey tomorrow, Tennessee is going to take the number 9 spot from New Jersey. They got 1,646 cases. If they would have put 714, if they would have put 714 up instead of 754, Tennessee would be number 9. So we'll check that tomorrow. Pennsylvania, 1,452. They lost 33. No stats for Louisiana. Ohio, 1,334. They lost 4. Alabama, 1,061. They lost 11. Virginia, 1,256. They lost 10. Y'all know that these numbers are high. Those of you that have been following this with me, y'all know these numbers are very high. South Carolina, 945, they lost 21. Michigan, 1,648, they lost 19. Missouri, 2,394, they lost 27. Wisconsin, 2,742, they lost 18. Massachusetts, 639, they lost 10. Indiana, 1,000. Indiana did it, y'all. I told y'all Indiana was going to overtake Maryland. They did it. Ooh-wee. They did it. That's Finax. They took us out. They took us out big time. Indiana, 1,918. They lost 21. My state of Maryland, my little state of Maryland, we only had 636 new cases in my state of Maryland. We lost 5 and I'm not one. I'll be glad when this virus is done. Oh, Maryland, sweet Maryland, I love my state of Maryland. Minnesota, 1,516. They lost 10. M-I, crooked letter I, crooked letter I, humpback I. Mississippi, 957 new cases, they lost 16. Oklahoma, 1,533, they lost 4. Iowa, 1,108, they lost 14. They doing something in them cornfields because Iowa is getting ready to take out Oklahoma for the number 25th spot. Look at that, 98,621, 98,583. Basically, Oklahoma held them off, but they put up 1,533 versus 1,108. Oklahoma held them off. Washington State, 323, no deaths. Arkansas, 908 new cases, 22 deaths. Nevada, 806 new cases, 2 deaths. Utah, 1,354 new cases a day, 5 people died today. Kentucky, 989 new cases, 7 people died today. Colorado, 1,023 new cases. That's high for Colorado. They lost 9 people. Kansas, 180. They lost 12. No stats for Connecticut. Nebraska, 1,085. They lost 5. Idaho, 613. And they lost 1. Oregon, 398. They lost 2. New Mexico, 481. They lost 5. South Dakota, 732, they lost 9. North Dakota, 588, they lost 15. No stats for Rhode Island. Delaware, 171 new cases, they lost 2. West Virginia, 206 cases, they lost 5. District of Columbia, 75, they lost 2. Hawaii, 71, they lost 2. Alaska, 249, no losses. New Hampshire, 122, 5 losses. Wyoming, 120, no losses. Maine, 30, no losses. Vermont, 11, no losses. Puerto Rico, they picked up 472. They had 8 losses, no stats for Guam. Virgin Islands picked up 1, no losses. Mariana Islands picked up 2, no losses. U.S. military, no stats. Veteran Affairs, 346, 16 losses. No stats for the federal prisons. Navajo Nation picked up 43, and they lost 1. So, we got a total of 7,945,505 total cases in the United States that we know of. 50,876 new cases today. 50,000. Total deaths, 219,282, and we lost 635 people today. We picked up 50,000 new cases, and we lost 635 people today in these United States of America. Anybody have any final comments? It's 5 o'clock. The market opened at 6. I will be live at the market. I want to be there when they open. I want some food. What am I going to get today? I'm trying to think. What do I want to eat? You know what? I think I'm hungry. I'm going to eat some food. So I'm bringing the wagon trailer. We get to try out the new lock. We get to try out the new chain bike lock that we got. If anybody would like to help Anybody would like to help? We need help with the phone bill. I hate to come at y'all because I did the right thing. I paid it. They didn't take the money fast enough. So when I called back on the card, I put the money that was left after I paid the phone bill on other bills. Then right when we started the show, I got a message saying that the payment was declined. Well, if I did it hours ago, why am I being notified it declined? You know, I don't understand. I mean, it took them 7 hours to take that money. I know we got the CV and people short staffed, but man, I thought that was electronic. But anyway, they the Amazon Prime and the Amazon Prime and the decor that we ordered, Amazon took that money. The cord will be here today. So on the way up, we're not gonna have no music, so we can have music on the way back because I don't have no way of powering Bluetooth speaker. The cord snapped when I was at McDonald's the other day. So anyway, if somebody would like to help out, great. If not, don't worry about it. We'll see how long. I'll keep broadcasting until we get cut off. But I got faith that somebody gonna come through, and if not, then hey, we'll just be off for a month. But we'll see what happens. Y'all have a great night, and I'll see y'all in a little bit. Let me get ready. Everything's charged up, I believe. Let me get ready to head up